Chapter 20. Naruto chose a full set of weights. It included a vest that could be filled with heavy metal blocks, and a pair of strip-type weight-bearing pants that could be connected to the vest to hold the metal blocks. As for the metal blocks engraved with roots, one size was 2 fingers wide, 8 centimeters long, and 1 centimeter thick. According to the boss, there was a special seal on the metal blocks. As the amount of chakra increased, the weight of the metal blocks would increase. The initial weight was 1 kilogram, and the limit of chakra increased to 50 kilograms. The vest could be filled with 6 pieces, for a total of 12 pieces. The total weight was 12 kilograms to 600 kilograms. The legs could be filled with 4 pieces, for a total of 8 pieces. The total weight was 8 kilograms to 400 kilograms. The wrist guards could be filled with 2 pieces, for a total weight of 4 kilograms to 200 kilograms. The body weight was 24 kilograms to 1,200 kilograms. In other words, when Naruto could adapt to 50% of the load, the gravity would increase to the maximum. At that time, he would be able to open the first gate of the Hashimon Tonku. The total weight would probably be enough to support Naruto until he opened the first 3 gates. Of course, the price of this set was not cheap. The root metal blocks were 1,000 taels per piece, and 2,000 taels per piece. The total was 48,000 taels. The equipment filled with metal blocks was 3 times more expensive, for a total of 144,000 taels. In the boss's words, the vest also had a certain amount of armor value. Total, 192,000 taels, minus the 10% discount for the genin, 172,800 taels. It was worth mentioning that the so-called 10% discount meant that the 10% was paid by the Wood Leaf Company. It was a ninja's benefit. Genin 10% discount, Chunin 30% discount, and Jonin 50% discount. Boss, the weight is added little by little. Don't think that you can become fat in one bite, otherwise you will be crushed to death by the weight. Naruto, I know, do I look like an idiot to you? At this point, nearly 600,000 taels had been spent. Then, according to the limit for the genin, Naruto could buy 20 detonation talismans in his name. With Hinata by his side, the two of them bought 40 talismans. A low-level detonation talisman was 100 taels. Naruto bought a middle-grade one, which cost 500 taels each. All of a sudden, he had spent another 4,000 taels of silver. Fortunately, every time the village carried out a mission, they would be equipped with a kunai. Otherwise, there would be no way to spend the money. Next, he bought a storage scroll with a medium storage space of 10 cubic meters. He spent 10,000 taels. Naruto asked, Hinata, is there anything you want to buy? Hinata shook her head. Although she didn't know where Naruto got the money, she didn't think he had much left. Hinata, didn't you buy me a chakra test strip? That's pretty interesting. Naruto rolled his eyes. What kind of gift is that? In the end, Naruto secretly asked the store manager to pack up the underwear that was introduced to him last time. No, the soft armor. Naruto reiterated several times that they should not use the wrong size. Because of her shyness, Hinata didn't say her measurements. The store manager's movements were extremely nimble. While Hinata was looking at other small objects, he took advantage of the opportunity. He whispered, "Don't worry about my eyes." As he spoke, he looked at Hinata's upper body and made a measuring gesture with his hand. Don't worry? Naruto suddenly wanted to beat this uncle up. So far, Naruto had spent a total of 1,273,000 taels of silver. After deducting the 10% discount, it was 1,267,000 taels of silver. Well, he could be considered a small rich customer. For this, the store manager also gave Naruto a membership card. The membership card didn't give discounts, but it allowed him to experience high-quality service. The uncle said that in 2 months, he would invite 2 beautiful girls to help him run the store. It seemed to be crooked again. The two left the ninja store and then went to the clothing store. Naruto bought several sets of new clothes with different styles and gave Hinata 2 sets. In response, Hinata shyly accepted it. At the same time, he asked the shop assistant and tricked Hinata into revealing her measurements. Cough cough. Naruto said that he didn't have any bad intentions. He just wanted to make it more convenient for Hinata when he bought equipment in the future. The next place they went to was interesting. For example, the bedding store. Naruto only bought a new quilt, pillows, sheets, and so on. Then there was the kitchen utensils. From cooking utensils to pots and pans, Naruto bought everything. With these, he could cook by himself in the future. While buying these things, the two of them also received a lot of strange gazes. Because these things were usually bought by adults. However, the two were happy. They felt as if they were really going to build a new home. After a busy night, a strange scene appeared on Wood Leaf Snack Street. Naruto and Hinata ate tri-colored meatballs while looking for various snacks. Behind them was a group of Naruto's clones carrying various things. The sun set in the west, and night fell. It was time for the two to part. Hinata asked, "Don't you need me to help you clean up your house?" Naruto said, "With my clones here, I can do it myself." Hinata said, "Then, I'm leaving?" Naruto said, "Yes, wait. I have a gift for you." Naruto handed the wrapped box to Hinata. Hinata took it. It was very light. "What's inside?" Naruto scratched his head. "It's a small gift. You'll know when you open it." Hinata asked, "Is it very expensive?" Naruto said, No. Hinata said, "Then I'll accept it. Naruto-kun, see you tomorrow." Naruto said, "See you tomorrow." At the same time, the uncle was about to close the door when he opened a gift box. He just subconsciously checked the contents of the box. He was going to send this gift box to his daughter. But when he opened it, the uncle said, "Huh? Isn't this the tank top? Wait. Oh no. I packed it in the wrong box." The box contained limited edition underwear that our daughter bought. It's the cute kind with a bra and underwear. The reason why it was mailed to him was because our daughter was going to come to his place this month, so we wrote the order address at his place. But the plan changed to next month, so our daughter asked him to mail the clothes to his wife. What should I do? The uncle packed the gift box as fast as he could. Then, he ran to Naruto's place as fast as he could. It turned out that he did know who Naruto was, and he even knew where he lived. At the same time, the uncle was extremely fast. It was obvious that the uncle wasn't an ordinary person. Waving Hinata off, Naruto's heart was full of happiness. As for inviting Hinata to his house, that would have to wait until he cleaned up his kennel. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing. When he returned home, he saw that the uncle from the ninja shop was actually at his door. Naruto said, "Huh? Uncle, I don't think I have anything to deliver to your door, right?" The uncle said, "You're finally back. Did you give the gift?" Naruto said, "I did." "Why?" The uncle said, It's nothing. I just want to investigate. Is she satisfied?" Naruto said, "Well, I don't know. I told her to take it home and open it." There was still hope. The uncle said, "Oh, did you just leave?" Naruto said, "Well, not long. About 5 or 6 minutes." The uncle said, "Oh, then I'll leave first." Naruto watched the uncle leave. This uncle was really enthusiastic. But he didn't think too much about it. That night was a sleepless night for Naruto's clone. The whole house, which was 60 square meters, was cleaned. Then, all kinds of things were rearranged. The trash was taken out, and the trash was thrown out. On the other hand, Naruto's main body took a comfortable hot bath. Then, he tried out the new weight equipment he bought. From tomorrow onwards, he would be inseparable from these iron lumps. Then, he watched the clone finish his work. The moment the clone was released, the house looked brand new. At the same time, the accumulated fatigue was transferred to the main body. Naruto fell asleep comfortably on the bed due to exhaustion and sleepiness. As for the store manager, he finally managed to sneak into the Hyuga family's house and successfully exchanged the 2 gift boxes. But when he returned to the shop, he found that the box was opened. and the things inside had long disappeared. Patter. The box fell to the ground. The uncle's face was filled with despair. What have I done all day? And how was he going to explain to his daughter? Headache. Should he find the little girl and ask for the underwear back? What if the little girl has already worn it? Despair. For the next month, Naruto spent his time accepting various D-class assignments and training. For example, finding a lost cat or dog, helping a noble couple take care of their baby, tracking targets, investigating the situation, and all kinds of small tasks. Naruto had his own training, such as weight, so this kind of easy task was suitable for him. Hinata was not in a hurry because of her temperament. However, Sasuke's brows were tion. Later, after Kakashi reported to Naruto that the team could accept higher-level tasks, a C-level task was arranged. Escort Tazuna to the Wave Country to build the bridge. This seemingly C-level task was actually a B-level task, almost an A-level task. Their enemy was the traitor of the Mist Village, the only descendant of the Snow Clan, the owner of the ice release Kekii Genkai. Haku. The moment he heard the news, Naruto was practicing walking on the water by the lake. Then with a splash, he fell directly into the water. Although his whole body didn't fall in. But his trousers were wet. Hinata, Naruto-kun. Naruto took a deep breath. In the end, he still couldn't escape? Naruto, I'm fine. Sasuke. Hinata, Sasuke and Kakashi, Sensei are together. Kakashi, Sensei asked me to call you and prepare to leave today. Naruto frowned. Naruto, do you wear the soft armor I gave you? Hinata, yes. Naruto, then accompany me to get the sword, and then meet with Kakashi, Sensei. Chapter 21. Naruto and Hinata gathered with Kakashi. Tazuna glanced at Naruto and muttered, "Still a brat, and a short winter melon." Tazuna, an old man with a bag on his back and a wine bottle in his hand. He looked very arrogant. But in fact, the wine was to hide the fear in his heart. He was afraid that his secret would be exposed, so he issued a C-level mission from an A-level mission. Only he could think of such a thing. Naruto stared at Tazuna's eyes. Because he was unhappy, his voice became cold. "Who are you calling a short winter melon?" Being stared at by these eyes, Tazuna's heart jumped. Those eyes were full of ridicule and disdain. And there was a trace of hesitation. It was as if a person who knew his secret was hesitating whether to tell it or not. Tazuna was nervous and comforted himself. It was just a brat. Most likely, he was too nervous and thought too much. And Naruto was indeed hesitating. The mission of the Wave Country involved an underground force led by Gado. Because of the inconvenient transportation in the Wave Country, that force monopolized the water transportation and crazily raised the price of ships to exploit the civilians of the Wave Country. And Tazuna wanted to build a bridge to the outside world for the Wave Country to avoid Gado's exploitation. In a sense, Tazuna could be considered a hero. It was admirable. Whether it was courage or thinking, he was outstanding. But the key to the matter was, among Gado's subordinates, there were two ninjas at the Jounin level. Ghost Zabuza and Haku, who had the special ice release Kekii Genkai of the Snow Clan. Nine-Tails' voice sounded in his ear. "Brat, I feel the smell of fear in your soul. I'm curious what makes a little madman like you who uses clones as human bombs afraid." Naruto, of course I'm afraid, because I'm afraid of death. Nine-Tails, oh? Didn't that girl say that it was just a C-level mission? Naruto, just take it as my hunch. Teacher Nine Llamas, let's make a deal. If there's a danger that I can't deal with, can I lend you some chakra? Nine-Tails' words were laced with sarcasm. Sure, but I'll be the one to decide the timing. No matter what, you still call me a teacher, so I have to be more responsible as a teacher. Otherwise, how are you going to grow if you rely on me for everything? Right. Sasuke, Naruto, why are you carrying a sword? Do you know how to use a sword? Sasuke had already experienced Naruto's fighting style. There was no order at all. He didn't look like someone who had undergone systematic training. So when he saw Naruto carrying a sword on his back, he couldn't help but be curious. Naruto was currently 1.5 meters tall. The sword was 1 meter long, the hilt was 38.2 centimeters long, and the blade was 61.8 centimeters long. In Naruto's words, the hilt was a little long, but the store manager told him that the hilt was easier to grasp. As for the truth, the store manager wouldn't tell him that it was because he accidentally damaged it. Of course, the swords in this world were single-edged. As for the scabbard and blade, according to Naruto's request, they were in a matte camouflage color to facilitate concealment. Naruto, I didn't know it in the past, so I learned it now. Otherwise, wouldn't the wood-leaf swordsmanship in my head be wasted? With Sasuke's interruption, Naruto's gaze also shifted away from Dazner. Dazner pretended as if nothing had happened and took a sip of wine. Kakashi, since everyone is here, let's set off. Set off just like that. It felt like he was about to embark on a path of no return. Naruto took a deep breath and calmed himself down. If he was too timid to fight Zabuza, what would he do if he faced someone stronger in the future? So, he couldn't avoid it. There was no safe place in this world to begin with. He couldn't place his hopes on himself after he became strong, but he had to survive tenaciously when he was weak. So, with all kinds of feelings, everyone left the wood leaf. Today was a sunny day. Kakashi, don't be too nervous. A sea-level mission won't encounter ninjas. Just take this mission as a break. But no one pandered to him. Naruto, Kakashi, Sensei, do you have a detonation talisman on you? Kakashi's eyebrows twitched at the mention of the detonation talisman. He still remembered how Naruto used the detonation talisman in the previous assessment. Kakashi, what are you doing, kid? I already said that you're not allowed to use the detonation talisman like that. Naruto, just in case, hee. Kakashi, no. Would a Jonin have a few detonation talismans on him? Sasuke enthusiastically took out 2. Naruto took them and put them on him, feeling comfortable all over. Kakashi, Sasuke, I saw that he was uneasy all over. Now that I gave them to him, he seems to be a lot better. Would someone calm down because of a detonation talisman? Kakashi looked at Naruto, and what made him speechless was that Naruto really did calm down. Kakashi, multiple shadow clone is a forbidden technique. The main reason is not only because it consumes a lot of chakra, but also because after the clone is hit by a heavy blow, it will also bring pain to the main body, so don't be fooled by his cool self-detonation. What he meant was that they shouldn't encourage Naruto's suicidal arrogance. This was the first time Sasuke and Hinata had heard of this, and they were a little worried about Naruto. Naruto shrugged. It's just less than half of the pain. It's not as scary as they say. Half of the pain of being blown to pieces? It wouldn't be easy just thinking about it. Sasuke shook his head, and Hinata was even more worried. She wanted to say something but hesitated. Kakashi, also, the detonation talisman needs a special explosion-proof scroll or a scroll without chakra's seal, otherwise it might be accidentally triggered by chakra and blown to pieces. Of course, the only exception is if you have the money to buy the special detonation talisman. The safety factor of the detonation talisman is higher, and it can be used in a specific detonation technique. But, because the power of the detonation talisman is stronger, it seems that only Chunin can use it. If you buy it outside, the price will double. Naruto, it's okay, I have an explosion-proof scroll. As he spoke, Naruto took out a red scroll from his head. Kakashi's eyelids twitched. How many detonation talismans are there? Naruto, huh? What did you say? Then, seeing that Kakashi wanted to snatch the scroll, Naruto directly used multiple shadows. The 3 Naruto stood together. It was as if they were asking to guess which one was the real one. Kakashi, forget it, you take care. The clone was removed. Kakashi instantly appeared behind Naruto and snatched the scroll from Naruto's hand. Naruto, damn, you cheated. Kakashi, As the captain, I can't watch you die. Kakashi was about to put the scroll into his pocket. Huh? This touch. He looked back at Naruto and his eyelids twitched. Is this a clone? Naruto. What did you say? I don't seem to understand. Kakashi's fist smashed down. Bang. The clone was removed. At the same time, the scroll in Kakashi's hand also disappeared. Everyone was speechless. Chapter 22. In the end, Kakashi handed over Naruto's scroll. The scroll opened, and 27 detonation tags floated out. Kakashi and Sasuke's face twitched. Just now, they were walking with this human bomb. Naruto, you can't take away my detonation tags, that's money. This is robbery. Kakashi put away the detonation tags again. You know it's money, but you're quite rich, so you shouldn't be lacking in detonation tags. Naruto, 27 detonation tags, 20 of which were purchased from the ninja store, 5 of which were from Konoha's genin quota, and 2 of which were left over from the exam. Naruto wouldn't say that he had 20 more with Hinata's quota. There were also 2 that Sasuke just gave. As for the other 2, Kakashi acquiesced. Hinata naturally knew how many Naruto had, so she was a little uneasy. Naruto gave Hinata a look that said keep a secret. Kakashi was looking into the distance and didn't see this scene, but Sasuke's forehead was sweating. He didn't report it, but he obviously wanted to stay away from Naruto. After walking for a while, the hot sun was still in the sky, but there was a large pool of water on the road. The enemy is here. If he didn't guess wrong, it should be the 2 Chunin called the Ghost Brothers from the Mist Village. He glanced at Sasuke. Well, that guy's eyesight was good, and he was also paying attention to the water on the ground. Seeing Naruto, the 2 looked at each other for a short time. Naruto nodded slightly. Hinata didn't seem to notice it. Reminding her will easily attract the enemy's attention. At this time, Kakashi was walking at the back. If the enemy wants to attack, the most correct way is to kill the strongest in the team first. In fact, they did do this. When they were about 5 or 6 meters away from the puddle of water, the group suddenly stopped. Suddenly, 2 figures rose from the water at the same time. One on top, the next on top. Those below were tossing those above into the air. A chain was connected to their hands. It was very long, and the hand that connected the chain was a special kind of arm guard. It wrapped 5 fingers and a steel claw. The ninja fell in front of Kakashi, and at the same time, the chain wrapped around Kakashi. The 2 of them exerted their strength and pulled, and Kakashi's body was torn apart. Brother Ghost grinned. The first one to take the bait. Everyone turned around, and the scene in front of them stunned Tazner. It's a ninja. The strongest person in the team had been dealt with just like that. Next, Tazner didn't have time to think carefully. The Ghost Brothers had already rushed up again. Their target was the little ghost that he had once said was a short winter melon. Tazner shouted, "Be careful! Ghost Brothers, the second one. Go!" The Ghost Brothers appeared behind Naruto. Long chains wrapped around the sky. As long as the 2 of them passed Naruto, they would be able to perform the killing move again. The Ghost Brothers grinned, but they couldn't laugh in a second. One Naruto instantly turned into 2, and then kicked left and right in the crotch. Was it planned? No, it was just that Naruto found that the angle was extremely good. He was just about to raise his foot and kick. The sound of eggs breaking was heard. They didn't really hear it, but the moment the men present witnessed this scene, they instinctively felt uncomfortable. However, the 2 ninjas' endurance wasn't just for show. They actually didn't die directly. Instead, their gazes became even fiercer. The 2 Naruto jumped up, their feet in the air, their palms pushing each other, and using the reaction force of each other, they kicked continuously. Consecutive kicks to the crotch. Pain. How many times did Naruto kick? 4 more kicks later. 1 kick from before. So it was a total of 5 kicks. This wasn't just broken, it was deflated. The 2 of them went limp. In the end they still died. A shadow clone killed 2 Chunin-level ninjas with 5 kicks in a row. Even Naruto himself didn't expect this. The kunai was placed horizontally at the throat of the Ghost brothers. Naruto, hey, aren't you too weak? One of the ninjas struggled, and the kunai was directly inserted into his throat. He died. The other Naruto saw this and cursed, F***ck. You killed one just like that. That Naruto, he struggled, so I killed him. Naruto, well, it was stupid to reason with a shadow clone. After all, it was just following an order. But what was shocking was that in the next moment, the other Naruto also inserted his ninja weapon into the throat of his subordinate. Then I'll kill him too. The scene in front of them couldn't be explained with common sense. Kakashi reappeared and looked at the scene in front of him speechlessly. Everyone was relieved when they saw that Kakashi was fine. Looking back at the place where Kakashi died, there was only a piece of wood that had been smashed. There was no doubt that it was a substitution technique. Kakashi looked at the 2 Naruto. Both of them are clones? The 2 Naruto turned their heads, and without waiting for an answer, they disappeared with a bang. A disgusting Naruto walked out of the forest. Naruto, sorry, my clone is a little. Naruto shut up because he couldn't bear to vomit. The friction of the kunai and the burning feeling of his bloody hand made him feel like he had been thrown into a pile of rotten fish intestines, and he felt disgusted. Kakashi, this is another flaw of the shadow clone technique, but it's nothing. It's just that it's more straightforward when killing people. Be careful when you use it in the future, don't kill the wrong person. Naruto walked in front of the 2 people who were still whimpering with their mouths open. It turned out that cutting off the laryngeal artery was impossible for people to stop moving in an instant. So what he saw on TV in the past was all fake. Could this be considered a virgin kill in this world? And it was a double kill? Naruto stepped forward and pulled the 2 people's faces to the ground. He really didn't want to see the 2 people watching him slowly die. It was like subconsciously covering the fish's eyes every time he cooked fish. 9 tails. Huh? How did you bring these 2 guys in? Naruto, what did you say? The next moment, the scene in front of Naruto changed to 9 tails' huge cage. But it was different from usual. There were 2 more people here. Naruto, these 2 people didn't I just kill them? And this scene reminded Naruto of the first time he came in. At that time, the one lying below was Naruto. So if he were to touch them, what would happen? Would these 2 people be swallowed by his soul like Naruto? And then obtain a change in the nature of the water attribute? And then, would his soul power increase or decrease? It would be fine if it increased. If it decreased, chakra would also decrease. Naruto, teacher 9 llamas. Tell me, what should I choose? 9 tails, who knew Naruto's situation, naturally knew what Naruto was hesitating about. Try swallowing one first. Take this opportunity to confirm your original guess. Naruto hesitated for a moment, then raised his hand and walked toward one of them. Some things will never be known if you don't try. Naruto, I've memorized all the ninjutsu on the Forbidden Technique scroll, so it's fine even if I lose some spiritual power. Saying that, he pressed his hand on one of the people's face. Chapter 23. Weak. This time, even if 9 tails didn't say anything, Naruto himself could feel that his soul power was decreasing. It was as if he suddenly felt sleepy. His head began to feel a little dizzy. 9 tails. Press your hand on my chakra again. Naruto followed the instructions and pressed his hand on 9 tails' chakra. Under the stimulation of the burning sensation, Naruto felt that his consciousness was much clearer. Naruto, how is it? Is there any change? 9 tails. Interesting, your soul has fused with the water attribute, but the soul power consumption is only 1/10 of the fusion with the yang attribute. Naruto, try to devour another person's soul. I have an interesting guess. Should he devour again? Losing 1/10 of his soul power, under the effect of the wooden bucket, would mean losing 1/10 of chakra. After hesitating for a moment, Naruto pressed his hand on the other person's head. This time, his consciousness wasn't blurred, but became more and more awake. His soul power was increasing. Nine Tails, how do you feel? Naruto, I feel like the lost soul power has returned. Nine Tails, it seems like that, fusing with an attribute that doesn't have will consume soul power. And once you devour something that has already been fused, your soul power will increase. That's it? If that's the case, as long as his soul power allows, wouldn't he be able to fuse with all attributes? This ability was unexpectedly a little awesome. Naruto, then, is there any adverse reaction? Nine Tails, adverse reaction. As long as the strength of your soul doesn't exceed the strength of your body, there shouldn't be a problem. Naruto, if the strength of the soul exceeds the strength of the body, what happens? Nine Tails, it will put too much of a burden on the body. It will consume vitality, and when the vitality is exhausted, the person will die. The communication in the spiritual world seemed to take a long time, but in the real world, it was only a moment. In the eyes of the crowd, Naruto just lowered his head, turned the two people's faces to the ground, and then stood up. Naruto, the feeling of killing someone is so uncomfortable. Is no one comforting me? Naruto looked at the crowd. Only Hinata came over to help Naruto wipe the blood off his hands. Surprisingly, Naruto found that he had adapted quickly. Just a moment ago, he had been disgusted by the sight of the corpse, but now, he no longer felt that way. He could not help but ask Nine Tails in his heart, no other side effects? Why do I feel like I can kill someone as easily as drinking water? When those two fellas fused into my body, they didn't distort my personality. Nine Tails, is being used to killing considered a weakness? I'm already used to it. Naruto, alright, to discuss this kind of thing with a demon fox, he must be retarded. Hinata said, Naruto-kun, you look better. You were a little pale just now. Naruto, with you by my side, killing someone is nothing. Is it really okay to talk about love in front of two corpses that are still warm? Tazuna looked at Naruto, the little guy with golden hair, and couldn't help but feel a little scared. Kakashi, Mr. Tazuna, I think we should talk. Kakashi's words diverted everyone's attention. Kakashi, if I guess correctly, these two Chunin wearing the forehead protector should be looking for you, right? A mission involving ninjas is no longer a C-level mission, it's at least a B-level mission. Tazuna lowered his head. Kakashi, maybe you have your own difficulties, maybe you can't afford a B-level mission, maybe it's something else. But those have nothing to do with us. If you do this, it will make things difficult for us. Everyone looked at Tazuna. Tazuna. Then Kakashi no longer paid attention to Tazuna and turned to look at the ninjas in his class. Kakashi, everyone's performance just now was not bad. Kakashi, Sasuke and Naruto should have also discovered the enemy's trap, right? Sasuke, the sun is so hot, but there is such a puddle of water on the ground. It's hard not to find it. That's right, today's wood leaf area was sunny, there was no rain, but there was suddenly a large puddle of water on the road. It was as idiotic as an orange running into an apple basket. Kakashi nodded. Naruto's performance was very good. If I guess correctly, Naruto should have used substitution jutsu to replace the original body and the clone hidden in the forest at the same time, right? Then the original body went to the tree behind Hinata and secretly protected Hinata, who hasn't entered the state yet. You did a good job protecting your teammates, but in the middle of the mission, you should prioritize protecting our client. Well, I don't think I'm the client anymore. Kakashi turned to Hinata. Your observation skills still need to be improved. Hinata lowered her head. I'm very sorry, I'm holding you back. Kakashi, well, after all, it's the first time facing a ninja. Pay more attention in the future, you'll improve. Seeing that Kakashi and the others were about to leave, Tazuna finally spoke. Sensei. I want to talk to you about something. Tazuna, it's related to the mission. I know, this might be a bit difficult for you guys. Actually, there's an extremely terrifying guy who wants to kill me. Kakashi turned around. An extremely terrifying guy? Who is he? Tazuna. You might have heard of this person. He's the owner of the shipping company, Kader. Kakashi. Huh? Kader. Don't tell me it's that Kader company? He's one of the richest people in the world. Tazuna. That's him. In front of others, he's the owner of the shipping company, but in private, he colludes with the mafia and ninjas to smuggle drugs and controlled products. He occupies other people's companies and even countries. He's a heinous villain. About a year ago, that guy set his sights on the Wave Nation. Relying on financial resources and violence, he quickly controlled all the transportation on the sea. For an island country, controlling transportation is equivalent to controlling all the wealth. And the only thing that can threaten Kader is this bridge under construction. Sasuke. So, the two ninjas we met just now were sent by Kader. Kakashi. Then why didn't you say anything when you sent the mission? Tazuna. The Wave Nation is a very small and weak country. Even the daimyo doesn't have much money. I don't even have to say anything. If I had applied for a B-level mission with a high reward. In short, if you guys don't protect me, I'm dead. Kakashi. But. Tazuna. It's nothing, you don't have to take it to heart. Even if I die, the only one who will cry so hard is my cute grandson who just turned 10 years old. And my daughter will live the rest of her life alone with resentment towards the Wood Leaf Ninjas. Chapter 24. The more Tazuna spoke, the more pitiful he became. He was about to burst into tears. Sigh. Of course, this isn't your fault. It's my fault. Sigh. I deserve to be killed by a ninja. Kakashi. Okay. There's really no other way. We'll continue to protect you. Naruto. Isn't this just being shameless? Sasuke. Hinata. Kakashi. This time, I'll take it as a chance to hone my students. Using a jonin like Zabuza as a training ground. Kakashi. Sensei, you're really generous. Naruto looked up at the sky helplessly. Kakashi. The first time, there are 2 chunin. The next one will be a jonin. Everyone, cheer up. The 3 people who were forced to do something beyond their abilities said weakly, ah. After passing through several forests, everything was peaceful. Naruto was also thinking about how to minimize the danger. Talk about peace. Without overwhelming strength, it would be difficult to talk about peace. Then, as they approached the sea, the fog gradually thickened. Tazuna whispered, after crossing this sea, we'll reach our destination. Fog. Were they going to encounter Zabuza? Would Zabuza launch an attack directly at sea? There was no such thing in the original world. This meant that because of the fog, Zabuza didn't know the situation here. If he knew, it would be easier to deal with a target by surprise attack at sea. Tazuna, follow me. I know a good guy. Let him send us across the sea. Naruto. Hinata, use your Byakugan to observe the fog. Hinata activated her Byakugan. She scanned the surroundings. There's nothing on the sea. Kakashi, large fishing boats usually don't go out in fog. Naruto, what are you worried about? Naruto, I feel like something bad is going to happen. Kakashi said, don't worry. Although it's good to be vigilant, being too nervous will affect your judgment. Naruto, yes, I'll be counting on you, Mr. Kakashi. By the way, Mr. Kakashi, why don't you return my detonation talisman to me? I'll feel a lot safer that way. Kakashi said, that would make us feel unsafe. Sasuke nodded in agreement. The 4 of them followed behind Dazna and found his old friend's house. Dazna? You're still alive? Tazna. Would you be happy if I died? The man was quite young, much younger than Dazna. He was in the prime of his life. That's not it. I heard that Kader's people have been looking for you. It's a miracle that you survived. But since you're still alive, why did you come back? The people behind you, Are ninjas? What kind of ninja would help a poor guy like you? Kakashi's team, if they knew in advance, no ninja would get involved in this mess. But encountering someone who got on the bus first and didn't pay for the ticket, it was hard to explain. Dasna, of course I have to come back. If I don't come back, who will build the bridge? The young man shook his head. Kader won't let you build the bridge smoothly. But in the end, Dasna still persuaded the young man with a favor from many years ago. As for what kind of favor it was, he didn't know. On the boat, the young man muttered, "Thank the fog today. If it wasn't for the fog, I definitely wouldn't have sent you off." This boat was a speedboat, the kind that burned oil, but the young man had no intention of turning on the motor. Instead, he slowly rowed the boat with a pair of diligent hands. The wave country wasn't far, so the sea wasn't very wide. It didn't take long, even if he rowed with his hands. In the fog, the outline of a bridge could be vaguely seen. The bridge was half built. Dasna stared at the bridge after seeing it, as if he wanted to finish the bridge with his eyes. Everyone finally got ashore. The young man hurriedly waved and drove the motor without looking back, disappearing into the fog in the blink of an eye. It was no different from avoiding the plague. "Dasna, let's go. After we get ashore, we won't be far from home." "Wait." Hinata, open the Byakugan again. Naruto stood in place and stopped everyone from moving forward. Hinata opened the Byakugan and looked forward. There was a person squatting on the trunk. Hinata, ambush. Kakashi looked over. At the same time, a huge beheading sword suddenly swept over. "Kakashi, get down." Naruto stared at the flying Zanpakuto. This is the time. Multiple shadow clone. 10 Naruto rushed at the beheading sword. Bang, 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 bang. 6 clones were slashed by the katana one after another. Naruto didn't dodge and blocked it. After the 7th one exploded, the last 3 clones finally stopped the katana and held it in their hands. "Naruto, since you have a hobby of throwing swords, you have to be careful. Sometimes you can't take them back." Was this a meat bun that couldn't be taken back? It was a bit strange to use this to describe himself. "Zabuza, my sword isn't that easy to take away." Zabuza attacked Naruto at an extremely fast speed, but the next moment, the beheading sword disappeared and another Naruto appeared in its place. The beheading sword had been replaced by a substitution technique. "Zabuza, brat." Kakashi's blindfold had been removed. "Are you ignoring my existence?" Bang, 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 bang. The 4 Naruto were swept away by the angry Zabuza, but they were only clones. Then, Kakashi and Zabuza exchanged blows. After a confrontation of taijutsu, the two once again widened the distance between them. "Zabuza, copy Ninja Kakashi?" Zabuza glanced at the others again. "There's also the little guy from the Hyuga clan." No wonder the Ghost Brothers failed. Finally, his eyes fell on the face of a yellow-haired boy. "Brat, you're very good." "Naruto, thank you for the compliment." Zabuza glanced at Tazuna, who was protected by the 3 little guys, and said to Kakashi, "My task is to kill this person. Give him to me, and I'll leave. How about it?" Kakashi, set up the formation and protect Tazuna. "I'll deal with this person. No one is allowed to make a move. This is the time to test the cooperation of the team." Zabuza, negotiation failed? Well, then I'll kill you first. Zabuza, ninjutsu, mist concealment technique. As if a breeze blew, Zabuza's body disappeared, and at the same time, the mist became bigger. Kakashi, everyone can't relax their vigilance. The other party is a ninja of the original mist-hidden village famous for their silent killing technique. If you take it lightly, you may die at any time. 8 places. Zabuza's voice came from all directions. Throat, spine, lungs, liver, carotid artery, and subclavian meridian, kidney, heart. I want to ask, where do you want me to attack? Hee hee. Chapter 25. His dry sneer drifted in the air, making people's scalp tingle. The fog became thicker, and their line of sight was less than 5 meters. The surroundings were white, and they couldn't see anything except for the fog. Even Kakashi's figure became blurry. Fear swallowed everyone's hearts. Undetectable danger was the most frightening. Sasuke's nerves were tense. He was afraid that he would lose his life if he wasn't careful. This feeling, it reminded him of that night. The moon in the sky was blood red. Blood spread everywhere, and the whole street was filled with the people he was most familiar with. As for her brother, he had taken away one life after another along the way. Even his parents were included. Helplessness, fear, unwillingness, the aura of death suddenly came. He felt like he was going crazy. Kakashi. Sasuke. Kakashi took a few steps back, and his figure became clear in the fog. Kakashi, don't worry, I will protect you with my life. I won't let him kill my companions. A gloomy and terrifying voice suddenly sounded in their ears. Is that so? I don't think so. Everyone was shocked. Ghost Zabuza suddenly appeared behind the three of them, in front of Tazuna, who was being protected. Without the beheading broadsword, Zabuza's kunai was already pressed against Tazuna's neck. This change was so fast that even if Naruto was prepared, it was too late. The difference in strength was obvious. What to do? Now they could only rely on Kakashi. Not letting them down, Kakashi appeared behind Zabuza, and while holding Zabuza's hand, the kunai in his other hand pierced Zabuza's body. A drop of water flowed out from the pierced body. The battle between the two knocked away Naruto, Hinata, and the others. Water clone. Hinata, behind you. Bang. Kakashi poked Zabuza's water clone, causing it to explode. At the same time, Zabuza, who was behind Kakashi, brandished his beheading broadsword and chopped towards Kakashi. How did the sword return to Zabuza's hand? Shouldn't the sword be thrown into the sea by the clone? Could it be that Zabuza just happened to have a clone in the sea? Naruto stared at the two. The speed of the battle was so fast that even if he could see the body, he couldn't react in time. Wait. This wasn't the most dangerous moment. The most dangerous moment was when Kakashi's mouth. But before that, he had to do something. In front of him, Zabuza's sword cut Kakashi in half. Kakashi was turned into a pool. This was Zabuza's water clone technique. At the same time, Zabuza's neck. Zabuza, you copied my technique at that time? When I said that I would never allow my companions to die in front of me, you copied my jutsu, and then hid your real body in the fog to observe. Kakashi the copy ninja truly lives up to his name. But, don't underestimate me. On the ground, the sword's shadow swept across, and Kakashi's Zabuza turned into a pool of water. Then the real body was behind him. Kakashi dodged the sword, and the sword fell to the ground. Zabuza turned around and kicked Kakashi. Kakashi was kicked into the water. Zabuza disappeared again, and when he reappeared, he fell on the sea. Hand seals, water prison technique. The water ball rose, and Kakashi was sealed in the water ball. Zabuza, it's absolutely impossible for you to break free from my water prison technique. Before that, let me kill your student, and then we continue to fight. This is the moment. Naruto's 3 clones hiding under the water rushed out of the water and hugged Zabuza. Detonation talisman. Explode. The detonation talisman detonated, and Zabuza's water prison was forced to break free. With the water as a buffer, Kakashi was not affected too much, but his head was still buzzing. Kakashi, this bastard, he's really messing around. But, the technique is finally broken. It's impossible to kill Zabuza with a detonation talisman. However, taking advantage of the moment when the detonation talisman was triggered, Naruto successfully took away Zabuza's beheading sword. Seeing blood dripping from his body, Zabuza was furious. Little brat. I'm going to kill you. Reaching behind him, he intended to use the beheading sword to chop the guy in front of him. But the beheading sword had been replaced by the substitution technique, and he couldn't help but touch empty air. Kakashi, your opponent is me. Losing the beheading sword again, Zabuza was completely enraged. Forming a hand seal, he intended to use his most powerful technique to kill all these guys at once. At the same time, Kakashi did the same action as him. Zabuza was shocked. My action was actually exactly the same as this guy. Kakashi, learn it. Zabuza. How did he know what I was going to say? His eyes. Kakashi, really arrogant, right? Zabuza. Humph. No matter what, you're just learning from me. Kakashi synchronized with Zabuza. I won't lose to you, you clown. Zabuza sped up the hand seal. Don't even think about learning from me. But suddenly, Zabuza saw himself on Kakashi's body. Is this an illusion? Kakashi, water release. Great waterfall technique. Isn't that the technique he wanted to use? Zabuza was horrified, and his body was directly rushed to the trunk by the turbulent waterspout, and several kunai rushed over and nailed him to the tree. Kakashi, it's over. Zabuza, why is this? Can you predict the future? Kakashi, yes. You're dead. 2 senbon flew from the forest and nailed to Zabuza's throat. Yes, he is indeed dead. Everyone was shocked and looked at the voice. A man wearing a mask appeared in front of everyone. Haku appeared. Naruto stared at Haku, and Haku stared at Naruto. Haku, the beheading sword in your hand belongs to the mist. Can you return it? Kakashi came to Zabuza's side and checked his artery. He was no longer jumping. He's really dead. Haku, who was wearing the Umbu mask, also fell from the tree. Thank you so much. I've been looking for a chance to kill Zabuza. Kakashi, that mask. Are you from the Mist Ninja Hunting Team? Haku, amazing you even know this. Then Haku turned to look at Naruto. So, are you willing to return the beheading sword? Zabuza betrayed us with a famous sword that belonged to the mist. I need to bring his body back with the sword. Naruto, okay. But is he really dead? After all, he was such a powerful enemy. Haku, I believe your sensei has already checked. Kakashi, well, he is indeed dead. Naruto walked to Zabuza's body and leaned down to touch it. He couldn't feel the pulse of the artery. Medical ninjutsu is really powerful. 9 tails. Huh? Why didn't this person's soul appear? The last time Naruto touched the ghost brother, his soul was pulled into his body. This time, when Naruto touched Zabuza's body, 9 tails was waiting for that person's soul to come in, but it didn't. Naruto replied, that's because this person is not dead. Chapter 26. 9 tails. He's not dead? His pulse isn't beating. That means he's in a state of suspended animation. So, that little guy is here to save him? Naruto, yeah. 9 llamas. Sensei, do you think I should give this guy a final blow at this time? 9 tails. What's there to hesitate about? However, Naruto didn't do that. Instead, he got up and threw the sword over. Since this sword is yours, I'll return it to you. 9 tails narrowed his eyes. He didn't quite understand Naruto's intention. Haku raised his hand and took it. Thank you. Then, I'll take this guy's body and leave. After all, this guy's body still has too many secrets. Haku put the sword back on Zabuza's back, then carried Zabuza on his shoulder and disappeared. Naruto, Kakashi, Sensei, could Zabuza be in suspended animation? Suspended animation. Kakashi's eyes widened. If it was suspended animation. Kakashi, not good. Kakashi intended to chase forward, but because of excessive use of Sharingan, chakra was exhausted. His body couldn't exert any strength, and his footsteps were weak. Naruto was struggling in his heart. Should he let Haku go or leave them behind? If he let them go this time, Haku and Zabuza will definitely attack them again. Reason told him that it was not the time to be merciful. Being merciful to the enemy is being cruel to yourself. Moreover, only the strong have the right to be merciful, and you don't deserve it now. With a decision in his heart, Naruto made a seal with one hand, explode. A deafening sound came from 100 meters away. Detonation talisman, and it's the power of a large number of detonation talismans exploding together. Naruto, Hinata, lock onto the enemy's position, the battle isn't over. Although Hinata didn't know what happened, she still subconsciously followed Naruto's instructions and activated Byakugan. 9 tails. Detonation talisman? When did you do it? How come I didn't even notice? Naruto, I had my clone do it, so you didn't know. 9 tails. Not bad, not bad. So, you hid the detonation talisman on the sword? Naruto, hidden in the cloth belt of the sword's hilt. Hinata, the enemy is still moving, wait. Zabuza is not dead, but it looks like he was injured by the explosion and lost an arm. Naruto, what about the other person? The other one doesn't seem to be injured. Not injured? How could he not be injured at such a close distance? Teltsda talisman teat, ta scroll, a talisman that's est, as the scroll unfurled, and 27 detonation talismans floated up. Multiple shadow clone technique. Each of the 27 clones grabbed a detonation talisman in the air and rushed toward the location Hinata reported. Hinata wanted to chase after them. Naruto, you and Sasuke stay here and take care of Kakashi-sensei. After saying that, Naruto chased after him with his clone. At that moment, Kakashi seemed to see Naruto's. In his daze, he forgot to stop Naruto. Naruto entered the forest and soon arrived at the site of the explosion. It was a deep pit with a diameter of 20 meters, and the surrounding trees were collapsed around the explosion's point. Naruto found it hard to imagine how Haku escaped from such an explosion. It took him 20 detonation talismans to create this effect. Naruto, Sensei 9 llamas, can you sense where the enemy is? 9 tails. He's right behind you. What? He concentrated his chakra under his feet and quickly changed direction to the side. At the same time, an icicle pierced Naruto's original position. Haku's figure appeared and landed on a tree. He looked down at Naruto. You dodged it. That means, you're the main body. Naruto stared at Haku on the tree solemnly. For a moment, he regretted chasing after them. He knew that Haku would be difficult to deal with, but he did not expect him to find the main body so quickly. Naruto, multiple shadow clone technique. Naruto split into 10 clones again. Naruto, can you still tell which one is my main body now? Haku, interesting, you have more chakra than I expected, but this will only delay your death. Haku raised his hand and dozens of icicles flew towards Naruto. Bang! Bang! 2 of the clones did not escape the attack and were destroyed. On the other side, Zabuza appeared behind Naruto, holding Naruto's neck and lifting Naruto. Kid, are you the one who stuck the detonation talisman on my sword? Zabuza's right hand was blown off. This kind of defeat that he had never experienced before made him want to eat the person in front of him alive. However, at this time, Naruto's head suddenly turned 180 degrees and stared at Zabuza. Boom! To be able to turn the head 180 degrees, this Naruto was undoubtedly a clone. However, Zabuza was really shocked. He let go and quickly retreated. However, the Naruto in front of him did not explode. Zabuza knew that he was fooled, and his anger was uncontrollable. Zabuza grabbed Naruto's head and decided to crush this clone. Naruto's clone hugged Zabuza. Then, with a boom, it really exploded. This time, Zabuza was hit by the explosion. For a moment, he felt his vision turning black and his ears ringing. The nearby Naruto's clone quickly arrived and saw Zabuza lying on the ground. Without thinking, he rushed over and hugged him, then self-destructed. This repeated 3 times in a row until Zabuza's head was blown off. This was the command of Naruto's clone: catch the enemy, self-destruct. After Zabuza was defeated, Naruto's main body could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Now, The only enemy left was Haku in front of him. To be able to defeat Zabuza so easily, it meant that Zabuza was already an arrow at the end of its flight. Self-destruct clones gathered. At this point, there were still 24 clones left. Haku, I found you again. Haku's voice appeared behind him. Substitution technique. On the opposite side of the tree, Naruto's clone and Naruto swapped places. Then, self-destruct. Looking back, he saw an ice wall blocking in front of Haku, blocking the explosion. Naruto, amazing, I want to know how you found my main body. The ice wall dissipated. Haku, I guessed. Naruto, multiple shadow clone technique. Naruto once again divided into 10 clones. Haku, do you know any other techniques? Naruto, sorry, I only know this clone technique. Guess again, which one is me? By the way, let me tell you a piece of bad news, Zabuza is dead. Haku appeared in front of the clone that said Zabuza was dead, holding an icicle in his hand and fiercely piercing it. I will also send you to your death. Naruto, who was pierced by the icicle, smiled. Sorry, you guessed wrong. The clone self-destructed. Pain. Naruto's main body could not help but tremble when the clone self-destructed. Haku's voice appeared behind Naruto. That's how I know which one is your main body. Haku, Ice Escape Secret Technique, Sunglasses Ice Crystal. Ice mirrors rose one by one and surrounded the surroundings in the blink of an eye. Haku, you can't escape now. And it's a pity to tell you that Master Zabuza is not dead. And you are going to die. Haku's body took a step back and merged with the ice mirrors. At the same time, Haku appeared in every mirror that trapped Naruto. They looked at Naruto from all directions. However, what gave Naruto a headache was, outside. 22 doppelgangers ran over and each of them hugged an ice mirror. Self-destruct. The only thing Naruto could do was to pray that the ice mirror was strong enough. He could also endure the pain from the self-destruction of 22 clones. Boom. Chapter 27. 22 clones self-destructed at the same time. The ice mirror held on, however. Naruto collapsed. He tried his best to hold on, but the immense pain made him lose control of his body, and he collapsed to the ground. His skin was red and swollen, and blood vessels were everywhere. He looked like a bloody man lying on the ground. Naruto also thought of dispelling the clones, but the timing of the detonation talismans was not synchronized. If he dispelled them directly, he might waste a lot of talismans. Hence, Naruto chose to hold on. Boom! A crack appeared on the ice mirror, and a piece of ice fell to the ground. The power of the 22 detonation talismans only blew up a piece of ice the size of a fist. This super-strong defense was completely beyond Naruto's expectations. Haku walked out of the ice mirror, and his mask cracked in the sound wave of the explosion. The moment he walked out of the ice mirror, his mask fell off, revealing Haku's young and beautiful face. What a crazy opponent! Haku said. But fortunately, it's settled. Haku walked to Naruto and looked at Naruto, who looked like he had just been fished out of a pot of oil. I will remember you. He raised his hand, and a senbon appeared in his hand. He threw it at Naruto's heart. Naruto's vision was blurred, but he vaguely saw Haku throw something at him. I can't die. Start moving. Naruto struggled with all his might and kicked his legs with all his strength. His body moved up a distance, and Haku's attack missed and stabbed his stomach. Oh. You still haven't given up? Good willpower. Unfortunately, you hurt Zabuza-sama and humiliated him. Otherwise, I might have spared your life. Haku took out another senbon. Bye-bye. Go to hell. Give up. I won't miss this time. But don't worry, you won't feel any pain. I will also inject the ice element chakra into your body. When it pierces your body will be instantly frozen into an ice sculpture, and you will be free. Haku threw the senbon in his hand. Naruto. The 9 llamas. 9 tails. Ah, got it. In the space sealed by 9 tails, a beast claw formed by chakra reached out and slapped Naruto. In an instant, Naruto felt as if he had been drenched in a pot of boiling oil. Haku turned around and no longer looked at Naruto. In his opinion, it was impossible for Naruto, who had already lost the ability to fight, to make any more waves under this attack. But the moment he turned around, he felt a sense of danger. Danger! Although Bai did not know what was going on, he instinctively sped up and merged with the ice mirror. Ring! Crack! 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 Ha! Senbonzai stabbed into the ground. Ice element chakra erupted, freezing the ground. Sharp ice crystals bloomed on the ground, forming a beautiful ice flower. He missed. How could this be? That guy actually dodged it. In the ice house that was pieced together by dozens of ice mirrors, Haku had absolute vision. He saw Naruto. Naruto was on the top floor of the ice house, grabbing the ice mirror above like a leopard cat. It was obvious that the other party had suddenly jumped up and dodged the attack. Haku, still not willing to die? But in my hands, I can't let you live. The feeling that the other party gave him made Haku feel a little scared. So he decided to get rid of this guy as soon as possible. However, just as he used the characteristics of the sunglasses ice crystals to reflect on the ice mirror opposite him and instantly changed his position, intending to attack from the enemy's blind spot, Naruto turned his head. Their eyes met. Haku was shocked. He could see through his speed. This was impossible. The reflection between the sunglasses ice crystals was almost at the speed of light. In the world formed by the sunglasses ice crystals, he was invincible. His body had already left the ice crystal and attacked Naruto. Naruto moved. He bounced up from the ice crystal above and waved his fist at him. Senbonzai and the other party's fist collided, but Senbonzai was the one that broke. Then the fist pierced through his chest and his body was pierced through. Defeated, the two landed on the ground, and Naruto pulled his hand out of the other party's body. Blood gushed out like a fountain. A large mouthful of blood gushed out from Haku's mouth at the same time. Haku. Zabuza-sama. I lost. I'm useless. Haku muttered to himself, and the light in his eyes gradually dimmed. Naruto stood in front of Haku. Any last words? Another mouthful of blood gushed out from Haku's mouth. Let Zabuza-sama go. Naruto, I can't do that. Haku closed his eyes. Then bury me with Zabuza-sama. Naruto, okay. The last trace of light in Haku's eyes dissipated. 9 tails. Sure enough, as long as you kill the enemy and touch the enemy's body, you can pull the enemy's soul into here. Haku's soul was sucked into the sealed space of 9 tails. Naruto didn't say anything. He wanted to take advantage of 9 tails chakra to get rid of Zabuza. Multiple shadow clone technique. With the support of 9 tails chakra, thousands of Naruto's clones scattered in all directions, looking for traces of Zabuza. Soon, several of them saw Kakashi. Kakashi, Naruto. Under Kakashi, Zabuza fell down, and his bones were not cold yet. It was obvious that he had just been killed. Naruto's clone dispelled and sent the news to his main body. 5 minutes later, Naruto's main body came to Zabuza's body and pressed his hand on Zabuza's body. Then he fainted under the call of everyone. When Naruto opened his eyes again, he was stunned. He found himself lying in a farmhouse. Next to him was Kakashi. But Kakashi wasn't by his side, but lying on the bed with him. Because Sharingan was overused, and then he forced himself to kill Zabuza. This time he would be lying down for a long time. Naruto, this time, I almost died. I have to become stronger as soon as possible, no matter what method I use. Naruto's consciousness entered the sealed space of 9 tails. Zabuza and Haku's souls fell to the ground. They seemed to be sleeping peacefully. 9 tails. These 2 guys' souls are very strong. Naruto. Well. Naruto raised his hand and pressed on Zabuza's soul. Zabuza's soul twisted and flowed into Naruto's body. His soul power rose. His mind became clearer and clearer. Naruto suddenly found that this feeling was indescribably intoxicating. Naruto, 9 Lamas, Sensei, help me see if there are any other changes in my soul. Nine Tails' chakra overflowed from the cage. Naruto pressed his hand on Nine Tails' chakra. Surprisingly, the burning sensation wasn't as intense as before. Could it be that he began to adapt to Nine Tails' chakra? Nine Tails, the attributes have not changed, but the soul power has more than doubled. Naruto, 9 Lamas, Sensei, Zabuza definitely has more than the water attribute chakra, but I still only fused with the water attribute. Why is that? Nine Tails. It should be. The water attribute imprint in his soul is more complete. The imprint that hasn't formed dissipates, leaving only the next one. If the body is left for a long time, it may not even leave the water attribute imprint. An attribute spiritual imprint, Naruto. Is my current soul power the limit of my body? Nine Tails. Not yet. The Uzumaki bloodline is stronger than you think. Normally, when we are pulled out of the human pillar force will die immediately. But after that man pulled me out of Uzumaki Kushina's body, Uzumaki Kushina was still able to fight with me. Naruto nodded. Then the next one is Haku. Haku's ice release is very powerful. If I devour Haku, I can inherit this powerful force. In this battle, if it weren't for Nine Tails, I wouldn't be his opponent at all. Naruto came in front of Haku's soul. Naruto, fuse into my body and become my strength. Perhaps this is also a continuation of life. Naruto pressed his hand on Haku's body. The moment the two touched, Haku's soul began to distort, liquefying into water and flowing into Naruto's soul. Naruto was prepared to consume his soul power. But this time, the consumption of soul power was beyond Naruto's imagination. He only felt a blur in front of his eyes, then he lost consciousness and didn't know anything. Nine Tails widened his eyes. In front of him, Naruto's soul was visibly fading. To be precise, it was rapidly shrinking, condensing into a mark in front of his forehead. Naruto's body was already transparent, but the mark didn't seem to be satisfied. Then, an arm stretched out from Naruto's body, ignoring the 8 trigram seal, and pressed on Nine Tails' body. When Naruto woke up again, it was already night. The light was dim, and there wasn't even a candle. I seem to be fainting for no reason recently. Looking at his side, Kakashi was still sleeping. Naruto closed his eyes, and his consciousness entered Nine Tails' space. Nine Tails, what kind of monster are you? Being called a monster by a monster made Naruto feel a little confused. Naruto, what happened after I fainted? Nine Tails, you don't remember anything? Naruto, I remember pressing my hand on Haku's body. Then, I fainted. How was it? Did you succeed? Can I use the ice escape in the future? Nine Tails didn't speak, and Naruto felt a little awkward. He looked up at the cage, then glanced at Nine Tails, and asked, has this cage become bigger? No. It's not that the cage has become bigger. It's that I've become smaller. Nine Tails roared in his heart. If possible, Nine Tails just wanted to swallow this kid in front of him into his stomach. However, when he thought of how strange what happened before was, he couldn't help but feel a little scared. When Naruto's soul power was about to be exhausted, a claw stretched out from Naruto's soul, ignoring the 8 trigram seal, and pressed on his body. It devoured a lot of his soul power. That feeling was terrible. It was as if someone had stuck a straw into his head and sucked for a while. It was as if the guy called Death, summoned by the 4th Naruto, had cut his body in half with a slash. Nine Tails made a decision in his heart. Since Naruto didn't know what happened, he must not tell the truth to Naruto. If this happened a few more times, he would definitely die. Nine Tails, it's not that the cage has become bigger, it's that I've become smaller. After you devoured that soul just now, your soul power was rapidly depleted. If I hadn't used my soul power to support you, you would be dead now. Naruto, so it was Teacher Nine Lamas who saved me just now? Chapter 28. Would Nine Tails be kind enough to take the initiative to save him? Nine Tails. Humph. If it weren't for the fact that I can't live if you die, I wouldn't care about your life. Naruto. Then I have to thank Teacher Nine Llamas. Although he said that, Naruto still felt that something was wrong. This was because he did not feel any rage from the nine-tailed beast. People said that the eyes were the window to the soul, and one could know what a person was thinking just by looking at their eyes. But compared to the eyes, the soul was even more difficult to fake. Naruto had seen Nine Tails angry before. After learning that the 4-symbol seal removal technique could not remove the 8-trigram seal on Naruto's body, the anger that Nine Tails showed at that time gave Naruto the feeling that it was going to destroy the world. And now, Nine Tails' body had obviously shrunk by a lot, which showed that the consumption of soul power was definitely not low. This kind of thing should be even more angry, but there was no anger. Strange Nine Tails. Naruto, don't fuse attributes casually in the future. You might faint next time and never wake up again. Naruto. There was some discomfort on his forehead, and he felt that there was a foreign object on his forehead. Naruto subconsciously wiped it away. It was a different touch from the rest of his body. Naruto lowered his head and saw the engraving on his forehead. It was a circle with a pentagram drawn in the middle. There was a grayish-silver light flowing on it, and there were 2 adjacent pentagrams with golden threads at the sharp corners. What was this? Naruto couldn't tell, so he asked Nine Tails, "Teacher Nine Llamas, what's on my forehead?" Nine Tails. I've never seen it before, so I don't know. Nine Tails' attitude was indeed problematic. Naruto carefully looked at the 2 sharp corners outlined by golden threads on the pentagram. The arc connecting the 2 sharp corners was also different from the others, and there were unknown words engraved on the outside. The pentagram represented the 5 basic chakra species. 2 colored sharp horns, wind and water attributes. It should be related to the fusion of chakras attributes. In that case, what exactly was this imprint? Could it be that he would only know after fusing all 5 attributes? That's not right. When I fused the wind and water attributes, this imprint didn't appear. Instead, it only appeared after fusing with the ice attribute. Then, would he have to fuse with the bloodline limit? Nine Tails. Brat. Did you hear what I said? I forbid you from randomly devouring souls in the future. Naruto promised, "Yes, I won't mess around anymore." Teacher Ninth Llamas, is my soul power more or less than before? Nine Tails. Of course it's less, but it's purer. Naruto. Pure? Is there a difference in soul power? Nine Tails. Of course, the cultivation of the soul is the cultivation of the spiritual power. The stronger and firmer the willpower, the stronger the spiritual power. The external manifestation is that your control over chakra is stronger, and the internal manifestation is that your soul power is purer. It seemed that soul power wasn't just about increasing in quantity, but also in quality. Nine Tails. That's why you shouldn't randomly devour other people's souls. It will make your soul impure, and when your soul is impure, your control over chakra will be reduced. It's not good. Devouring other people's souls would make one's soul impure. But his soul power was clearly purer now. This self-contradictory statement. It seemed that for some reason, Nine Tails didn't want him to devour other people's souls. No, to be precise, he didn't want him to fuse with the attributes. And the reason why his soul power had become purer. Naruto raised his hand and touched the imprint on his forehead. Things suddenly became more interesting. His consciousness withdrew from the space sealed by Nine Tails. Naruto opened his eyes and looked around. He didn't see the executioner's blade. Naruto moved his body a bit and got out of bed after he didn't feel any discomfort. Did he retrieve the executioner's blade or not? It contained very precious living steel. Naruto wanted to fuse with the blade and create his own weapon. Multiple shadow clone technique. 500 Narutos left under the cover of the night and entered the forest. He began to search around the explosion site and the place where Zabuza died. He really did find the executioner's blade. When the doppelganger brought the executioner's blade back, Kakashi had already woken up. Kakashi, you really like this blade? Naruto was about to seal the blade in his storage scroll when he was surprised by Kakashi's sudden question. Naruto, if you buy this blade, you should be able to get a lot of money. Kakashi, sell it? If you want to sell it, you should keep it. Don't keep it by your side, it will cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. Trouble, you mean the Mist Village? Naruto nodded and followed the method of using the storage scroll. He poured Chakra's seal and sealed the executioner's blade in the storage scroll. Kakashi, how did you find out that Zabuza was in a state of suspended animation? Asking about this, it's troublesome to explain. Naruto, intuition, after all, we spent so much effort and still couldn't kill him. It doesn't make sense for a kid to kill him so casually. Kakashi, intuition is good, sometimes intuition can save your life. Is it fooled? That's good. That night, Kakashi and Naruto talked about the fourth Naruto. Naruto listened obediently on the side. The next day, everyone made a summary of the battle. Then Kakashi arranged a cultivation task for everyone. Well, it was the cultivation for Chakra's control, climbing trees. Naruto practiced this technique in private, and it wasn't difficult at all. Hinata, as the eldest daughter of the Zong family, never lacked cultivation lessons. Climbing trees was something that Chakra had learned long ago. As for Sasuke, after knowing the principle, he calmed down and focused his attention. Therefore, the three directly went to the next step, walking on water. Perhaps because the soul power was more pure, the control of Chakra's spiritual force was also strengthened. Naruto only tried a few times and succeeded. Then Naruto began to cultivate Chakra's nature change. Wind and water attributes were practiced at the same time. Of the 400 doppelgangers, 200 doppelgangers practiced the wind attribute, and 200 doppelgangers practiced the water attribute. The wind attribute Chakra's nature change cultivation, while Naruto continued the leaf-cutting cultivation method. For the water attribute, Chakra communicated with the river water and began to control the flow of the river water. As for the main body, it was weight-bearing cultivation, running back and forth on the water on the sea. In order to increase the weight to 500 kilograms as soon as possible and open the first gate of the 8 inner hidden gates. Now, Naruto's weight-bearing equipment was 25%, which was 205 kilograms. This was increased after the huge pain caused by the 22 detonation talismans that day stimulated Naruto's body. Then, Nine-Tails' chakra repaired it. In Naruto's opinion, doubling the weight required to open the first gate was impossible without more than 3 months. This also made Naruto even more suspicious. Nine-Tails' method of achieving this in a month didn't exist. However, although Naruto was suspicious, he didn't intend to ask. In his opinion, it was definitely not a good thing. A month passed in a hurry as they cultivated. Kakashi's injury was almost healed, and Dazna's bridge was also built. During this period, Gado's subordinates tried to cause trouble several times, but they also gave up. After all, the Wave Country was just a small country with a backward economy. For merchants, when the cost was greater than the return, giving up was a common thing. On the day the bridge was built, Hinata, Naruto-kun, Kakashi teacher is calling us. Naruto, coming. This day was also the day they returned to the Wood Leaf. As for the name of the bridge, under Naruto's instigation, it was named Kakashi's Bridge. Naruto, funny. Chapter 29. After the team returned to Wood Leaf, they first reported to Sandaime Naruto. After Sandaime Naruto heard that this sea-level mission was almost A-level, he was speechless and threatened to blacklist Azuna in Wood Leaf. Naruto, it's okay, the name of the bridge is Kakashi Bridge. I heard that Grandpa Tazuna said that the deeds of the Wood Leaf ninjas will be engraved on the monument in front of the bridge. It's a good publicity. Naruto, well, that's good. In short, because of my mistake, you guys worked hard. Kakashi, you three go home and have a good rest. The next thing was the deal between Kakashi and Sandaime Naruto. As for the content, Naruto wasn't interested at all. His heart has already flown to the ninja shop. How much live steel could be produced from the beheader's broadsword after it was smelted? It's a big sword, right? After all, it's one of the famous weapons of the 7 legendary swordsmen of the Mist Village, so it shouldn't be too shabby. After hearing Naruto's words, Naruto rushed out. Even Hinata couldn't catch up. Helplessly, she could only weakly say, "See you tomorrow." When he arrived at the ninja shop, in order to prevent Sandaime Naruto from confiscating his sword, Naruto asked his clone to bring the sword directly here when he entered with Leaf. Ring. Naruto pushed the door open, and the doorbell on the door rang. Naruto, uncle, how is it? Can this sword be smelted? At this time, the uncle was closing his eyes and stroking the ridge of the sword very solemnly. Naruto's main body pushed the door open and opened his eyes. Are you sure you want to smelt this sword? From the workmanship of this sword, I can feel that this sword is definitely made by a famous master. Its value is immeasurable. Naruto, it melted. No matter how good the saber is, it's useless if it's not suitable for me. I can make a sword suitable for me using the refined steel. Uncle, he wanted to say that this was a famous saber. Its value was definitely not only due to its material and workmanship, but also its external value. It was just like an antique. Although it was at best a piece of scrap metal, it was hundreds, thousands, and tens of thousands of times more valuable than scrap metal. 100,000 or 1,000,000 was not an exaggeration. Uncle, if you just want live steel, you can buy this knife and exchange it for more than the refined steel. Naruto, who's going to do it? Uncle wanted to say, since it's yours to exchange. The words were on the tip of his tongue, but he did not say them out loud. He suddenly thought of another problem. Such a precious saber, with the little guy in front of him, he really didn't have the ability to exchange it. It was more likely that it would be snatched away. Could it be that the little fellow was even more insightful than him? Of course, more importantly, Naruto was afraid of trouble. Naruto, uncle, can you change it for me? Uncle, well, can you tell me the origin of this saber? Let me estimate. Naruto, uncle, can't you see it? The middle-aged man smiled bitterly. To be honest, although I can barely forge a decent weapon, I'm still far from being a true swordsmith. This is also the reason why I don't spend much on swordsmithing. Naruto, uncle, do you know about the Mist Village? Uncle raised his eyebrows. You mean the legendary Blood Mist Village? Naruto nodded. Uncle, that village didn't communicate with the outside world for more than 10 years, so I don't know much about it. But I do know a lot of scary legends. How? Is this saber related to that ninja village? Naruto, the Blood Mist Village is famous for the 7 ninja swordsmen, and this saber is one of them. Uncle, then can I ask how you got it? Naruto saw that the uncle was a bit about to give up. But he didn't regret saying it. This uncle gave him a good feeling, and he didn't intend to cheat him. If you don't want to do it, there are other places in Konoha where you can forge. If you don't want to do it, you can just go to other places. Then Naruto talked about some of the things that happened during the mission. During this time, the uncle closed the door of the shop and even hung a sign outside. After listening to Naruto's story, the uncle's blood that was about to stop boiling couldn't help but boil a little. Of course, the specific details weren't disclosed. After all, ninja things needed to be kept secret. Uncle, then do you have the right to deal with this saber? Naruto, of course, I took this saber back. Uncle gritted his teeth. Then just melt it. Naruto, aren't you going to find someone to replace it? Uncle, you're going to replace it? The two looked at each other and laughed. After making a decision, the uncle rubbed his hands. His forging skills were relatively average. Although he had fantasized about personally removing a top-grade material like live steel, he never thought that he would be able to do it so early. Uncle, let's talk. After the material is extracted, Can you continue to commission me to forge a sword? I can do it for free. Naruto. Ha. Naruto was a little surprised that he didn't want to accept money. The uncle thought that Naruto didn't want to let him forge it, so he immediately increased the price. Uncle, don't worry, although my forging skills are a bit bad, I definitely won't disgrace this top-grade material. Because my father is a true master blacksmith, he left me a lot of valuable information. I can follow his methods to forge a sword for you. At the same time, if you have any special conditions, I can also fulfill them. If you need to add materials, if it's a small amount, I'm willing to pay all of it. If it's too much, I'm willing to pay 50%. You can do this? How could Naruto understand the desire of someone who was obsessed with forging? Seeing that there was such a good thing, he agreed, okay. In the future, I'll have to trouble Uncle with forging swords. Uncle, kid, not bad. I like it. Come, follow me. It just so happens that I've been itching for a few days, so I set up the furnace again. Now, I can directly smelt it. Naruto, can I also watch it live? The uncle laughed. Silly kid, how can I not be present when refining live steel? So, the two closed the shop and left one after the other. They walked straight to the edge of the wood leaf, where there were few people. From afar, they could see that the big iron furnace was already steaming at this time. Next to it was a rare house made of stones. The uncle was obviously in a good mood today. As he prepared to melt the sword, he explained, "This melting of the sword and the extraction of the material are also very particular. If you don't know what kind of metal material is in the sword, it will be very troublesome. You will have to listen to the sound and test to distinguish it. But since this is a famous sword, you can trace it back to the source and start directly from the information you already have." Naruto, the information you already have. Uncle, the more famous a blacksmith is, the easier it is to understand the weapon they forge, because there will be blacksmiths from all over the world who will go and appraise the weapon. Deducing the material is one of them. In addition, after everyone deduces and writes the basis, the master, as an elder, will make comments and announce the material. This is also called a discussion. Naruto nodded. Oh. So, the more powerful a blacksmith is, the more he has to pretend, and then the sword will have no secrets? Uncle. The uncle spurted out. Chapter 30. The process of fusing the sword went smoothly. That was because the uncle found information about the beheading sword in his father's pile of information. Then, he looked for the method of refining each material according to the fused materials, as well as the order of refining several materials together. Thus, the two of them spent a long time flipping through the information. Because there was too much information, the uncle asked Naruto to look for it with him. Of course, he wanted to find all the information as soon as possible. But the uncle would never have thought that Naruto's memory could remember every book he had read. This was Naruto's advantage. And Naruto himself did not intend to say it. The more he looked at the information, the more interesting it was. Thus, he secretly made a fortune. When fusing the sword, Naruto asked, "Can I flip through it?" The uncle waved his hand encouragingly. "Just be careful and don't turn some old pages into mush." As a result, Naruto became more and more brazen in stealing the technique. The uncle was guarding the railway. Seeing that Naruto was not staring with him, he muttered, "This silly boy, if I cut the materials, he won't even know. He's too naive." But who knew, Naruto had already read most of the information at this time. By the time all the materials were extracted, the knowledge of swordsmithing would have been taken away along with it. The knowledge of sword forging was mainly divided into 3 parts. The first part was the introduction of the materials. This included the types of materials, collection methods, refining, and the subtle differences between the materials produced in different areas, as well as the things to pay attention to. The second part was the forging method. It included the stacking of hammers, forging, how to rotate the hammer to save energy, how to borrow the force of the strike to save energy and increase patience, as well as the preparation before becoming a blacksmith, how to exercise a strong body, and the introduction of daily maintenance. Through this article, Naruto learned that advanced blacksmiths could also forge the body through sword forging. The third part was fusion and separation. This part mainly talked about the effects of the fusion of various materials and how to separate them. After reading the 3 parts, Naruto felt that he had opened the door to a new world. He had finished reading the book, but it was still memorable. The uncle walked up to Naruto. Naruto. He originally planned to take some extracts and prepare to proceed to the next step after opening the furnace. At this time, Naruto called out the names of 3 extracted substances in a row. Naruto said, "If you add these 3 materials separately during the refining process, you can even extract a fused composite metal." "Uncle, what did you say?" Naruto came back to his senses. "Oh, I just saw a master blacksmith talking about this beheading knife." "Uncle, from the book? Which book? Let me have a look." How should he answer? It wasn't in the book at all. Those were his conclusions. Naruto. Huh? Which book was it again? I forgot where I put it. Uncle, it's fine, as long as you've seen it in a book. There's no time to look for it. Naruto. Yes. Confirm. So, the uncle found the 3 substances according to the names Naruto had just mentioned. Have you decided to release them or not? It's easy to ruin a lot of good materials, but the live steel shouldn't be affected. Naruto. Well, I'll throw them in order later. In any case, other than the live steel, the rest are just icing on the cake. Uncle, okay, it's yours. We'll listen to you. Naruto silently calculated. According to the knowledge he had summarized from the materials, not only would this not affect the extraction of the live steel, but it would also consume the substances that would affect the separation of the live steel and increase the extraction of the live steel. However, he would also lose 2 materials that weren't very precious. Overall, it was a huge profit. At the same time, he could verify the accuracy of what he had learned from the book. Very soon, the 3 materials were refined into 3 alloys in a row. The first one was soft and sticky. The second one was hard and brittle and honeycomb-like. The third one was translucent and almost transparent. After the metal uncle examined it, he nodded and praised. This method is not bad. The first one can increase toughness when added to weapons, the second one can change the structure to increase stability, and the third one can increase the transparency of chakra. It's suitable for most forging. It's worth it. Naruto, can you see which book it was recorded in? That master is definitely not an ordinary person. His theory is very valuable. Naruto, there are too many books. My eyes are blurred. I can't remember clearly. The uncle nodded. That's true. Let's not talk about you. I was also dizzy when I checked the materials for a while. Naruto was very happy. The successful extraction of the 3 materials proved that the theory he had derived from the book was correct. At the same time, Naruto couldn't help but become interested in forging. Forging could also temper his body. Now, every time his body became stronger, he would be 1 step closer to opening the 8 inner hidden gates. Where else could he find such a good thing? Naruto, uncle, if I want to learn forging, what conditions do I need to meet? The uncle was taken aback. You want to learn forging too? Naruto, yeah, I think forging is very amazing. The fusion of 2 materials can create so many incredible things. It's like a god's creation. Uncle, you think so too? Maybe it was because he was stimulated by the live steel, but the uncle was especially pure and excited today. So he pointed to the largest hammer on the side of the forging table. As long as you can lift this hammer, I can teach you forging. Naruto tried it, but the hammer was really heavy. He couldn't even pick it up. Uncle, don't waste your strength. No one can lift that hammer in one go. But you can start from a young age. Naruto, no. I want to try. Uncle, wait a moment. As he spoke, Naruto took off his outer clothes, revealing the weighted clothes and gauntlets he was wearing. Naruto, Once chakra is injected into this thing, it can last for a long time. I have to take it off first. Naruto gently placed the weighted clothes and gauntlets on the ground. The uncle just glanced at it and didn't take it to heart. But the next moment, Naruto really lifted the big hammer. The uncle was shocked. He picked up Naruto's gauntlets. Heavy. How much weight are you carrying? Naruto, 25%, a total of 205 kilograms. 205 kilograms was 410 kilograms. This little guy was so fierce. Bang! The hammer fell, creating sparks on the iron felt. How is it? Uncle, I'm qualified, right? Uncle, not bad, you were born with a talent for forging. But in the future, I'll teach you the correct way to build muscles through forging. Otherwise, you'll be this tall in the future. The correct way. In fact, Naruto already knew how to do it. The reason why he wanted to forge was also one of the reasons. Naruto didn't want to be 5 meters tall forever just to practice the 8 inner hidden gates. Xiao Li and Guy must have other correct ways to train the body. Unfortunately, the 8 inner hidden gates didn't mention it. Well, under normal circumstances, those who could come into contact with the 8 inner hidden gates naturally knew the correct way to train the body. Naruto, on the other hand, obtained the standard version through abnormal means. Therefore, when he saw that the weight training could easily stop the body from growing, Naruto's heart almost fell into despair. While the two were talking, steam began to come out of the refining furnace. Seeing this, the uncle was pleasantly surprised. There's blue-green steam coming out of the furnace. This is the sign that live steel is about to come out of the furnace. Chapter 31. Live Steel. Out of the Furnace. After it cooled down, Naruto finally saw what live steel looked like with his own eyes. It was the same as described in the book. It was dark red in color, and there were even connected lines on it. The uncle was so excited that there was a trace of crystal in the corners of his eyes. He stared at the blood-red metal in front of him. We did it. In the end, he couldn't suppress the joy in his heart and jumped up happily like a child. On the other hand, Naruto was much calmer. But it had to be said that this was also a tragedy. A person who had encountered live steel for the first time in more than 20 years. Compared to a person who had encountered live steel as soon as he entered the industry, there was a 20-year gap between the values of these two people. The uncle was still praising. Look. Look. Even if it's placed here, it's still a supreme work of art. A piece of mineral became a work of art? Only a blacksmith would have this kind of aesthetic view, the middle-aged man said, but the amount is much more than I expected. Come, let's see how heavy it is. Although the live steel seemed to have cooled down, if one touched it with their hands at this time, it would definitely melt their hands in an instant. Huge iron pliers clamped the new live steel out of the furnace and fell on the scale with a heat-insulating composite board. Staring at the number on the scale, the uncle's eyes widened to the limit and he screamed, "It's actually 1 kilogram. Oh my God. I can't believe my eyes. 1 kilogram of live steel is right in front of my eyes." Naruto's eyelids twitched. Uncle, you can scream louder so that the whole village can hear it. Maybe you'll meet someone who can recognize the gold and share the joy with you. The uncle didn't know what gold and jade was, but he understood the meaning of Naruto's words. He quickly covered his mouth. He still understood the principle of treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime, and trouble comes from the mouth. After all, he was already an adult. The uncle rubbed his hands in shame. Sorry, I was too excited. After all, 10 grams is enough to make a sword. 1 kilogram is 100 famous swords. Naruto's thoughts moved. Under normal circumstances, no one would forge a sword like this, right? Uncle, of course not, this is a waste. What a huge waste. Naruto pondered for a moment and asked, Are you saying that this sword was forged by a famous craftsman? The middle-aged man stroked his chin. Although my knowledge is shallow, I can't be wrong about this. A sword forged by a master can be felt just by touching it. Naruto looked at the number on the scale and slowly said, I have a guess, the mist may have found a rare steel deposit in the past. The uncle began to ponder after being reminded by Naruto. At the same time, he put away the steel as fast as he could. He replied, I have to say, the possibility of your guess is very high. A weapon actually used 100 times more than the usual amount, and this is only the refined portion. There's still a portion that hasn't been refined into the residue. There's a problem, Naruto boldly guessed. Is it possible that the 7 swords of the 7 legendary swordsmen of the mist have a problem? Well, if I have the chance, I should collect a few more and refine them to confirm it. The uncle didn't think too much about it and casually replied, Then you'll have to come to me. But he didn't know that Naruto was really concerned about this matter. The steel was wrapped up by the uncle and placed in a metal box. The more precious the metal, the more carefully it needs to be stored, because even a drop of slag is worth tens of thousands of silver. After packing it, the uncle closed his eyes and handed the metal box to Naruto. Quickly put it away, I'm afraid I'll be more reluctant to give it to you if it stays in my hands for a while. In his heart, he was complaining about Naruto. This silly boy didn't know how lucky he was. He actually brought this sword to me for smelting. If it was someone else, I would have killed him already. I'm such a good person. What a hero. But unexpectedly, Naruto didn't immediately take it. Instead, he was silent for a moment and was full of worry. I'm a little uneasy, uncle. How much do you think this kilogram of steel is worth? The uncle held the metal box and felt as if he was holding his baby daughter. He rolled his eyes and said, 10 grams is priceless, what do you think? Naruto, then what do you think the mist will do if they know that the beheading sword is in the wood leaf? A huge surprise meant a huge danger. After the surprise, the uncle calmed down. His hand that was stroking the metal box gradually stopped and pressed on the metal box. For a while, the atmosphere was a little heavy. Things were more troublesome than expected. Naruto came up with an idea. I don't know if you can forge that sword. Of course, you can't use so much live steel, at most 10 grams. The uncle's eyes lit up. You mean? The two looked at each other and smiled. With Naruto's plan, the uncle's breathing became smooth. Little guy, I'm more and more optimistic about you. It's a waste that you're not a blacksmith. Naruto, it turns out that blacksmiths are slippery people. Uncle, ha 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 ha. Then, the two of them got busy again. At the same time, the uncle began to teach Naruto how to forge his body. Because Naruto had already learned it, he only needed to swing the hammer a dozen times to succeed. Naturally, he received a round of envy from the uncle. Uncle, when this sword is reforged, what kind of sword do you plan to forge? Naruto, no hurry. To be honest, I don't know how to use a sword yet. The uncle was speechless. A little kid who didn't know how to use a sword actually taught him so many things. He was a weirdo. The uncle suggested, it's okay. Once you learn the trick of forging your body, you will master the slashing of swordsmanship. As for the rest, you can practice it in actual combat with your intelligence. Find a good teacher to teach you for a while and you'll be able to learn it. Being able to talk about swordsmanship so easily, it can be seen that after getting along with Naruto, the uncle's worldview has begun to change. Uncle, also if you have the chance, go to the country of Iron to learn for a while. The warriors there are the place to inherit the essence of swordsmanship. You will definitely benefit a lot there. At the same time, the forging there is also superb. Naruto nodded casually. I will have the chance to go back, but with my age, I don't think I'm in a hurry. Uncle, mentioning this was a sad thing. It touched on the topic of people wanting to die more than others. But fortunately, the uncle's psychological endurance was not bad. Naruto forged iron for the uncle for the whole day, and his muscles and bones were very well trained. He only felt that his whole body was comfortable, and it was many times smarter than the method of training his strength with weights. In the uncle's words, strength from weights was clumsy, and forging was skillful. The two complemented each other, but they could not be mentioned in the same breath. At night, Naruto was a little reluctant. Sigh. I have to continue taking those boring tasks tomorrow. I really want to continue forging without any worries. The uncle smirked. You like this feeling? Naruto, yeah, I feel like if I practice taijutsu now, I can progress 1,000 miles a day. Uncle, it's not that exaggerated, but it's about the same. Naruto shrugged. Uncle, I have a good plan that will give you a month to forge iron. Do you want to try it? Naruto was a little doubtful. Really? Ninjas don't have holidays. The uncle smiled mysteriously. You will know tomorrow. The next day, Naruto came to the uncle's side as expected. The uncle's plan was to assign a task. He specifically asked Naruto to help him, and the task was sea level. So, Kakashi sent him to the uncle's door early in the morning, and then left Naruto alone. Naruto, Kakashi-sensei wants me to do this task alone? Kakashi, yes, that's what the task requirements say. The note points out that you damaged a stack of high-level detonation talismans. As compensation, you have to work here for free for a month. Nani? Naruto was dumbfounded. Was this the uncle's brilliant plan? It was really brilliant. Hinata stood on the side and was very worried. Will that person use his position to avenge private grudges? How much money do we have to raise to redeem Naruto? Kakashi, the client said that this isn't something that can be solved with money. The client said that Naruto has to forge iron for a month so that he can experience what hard-earned money is. Hinata, Naruto-kun. The corner of Naruto's mouth twitched, and he praised in his heart, ruthless. Awesome. Naruto, don't worry, I'll take responsibility for what I do. It's just forging iron for a month, I definitely won't let him look down on the Woodleaf ninjas. Hinata's heart was already in a mess. She praised Naruto-kun for being so cool. He had to take responsibility for what he did, and she had to learn from Naruto-kun. Hinata, we will wait for you to come out. Come out. Why did it feel like something was wrong? Naruto, yes. Forging iron for a month will definitely make my body stronger. Hinata, don't slack off outside, work hard on your cultivation. Hinata, yes. Chapter 32. After Kakashi left with Sasuke and Hinata, Naruto was brought to the place where the sword was forged by Uncle Manager. Naruto's face was full of piety and awe. Your strategy is really awesome. My admiration for you is second only to faith. Uncle Manager returned the favor. You're too kind. Your acting skills are also good. You're already a master at flirting. After flattering each other, the two of them continued with their work from the day before. Naruto continued to forge, while the store manager compared the proportion of materials and looked up the information, determined to create an identical Kubikirabatsu. After 4 or 5 failures for 3 days in a row, the two of them finally welcomed a near-perfect sword. Uncle Manager, I think we can try to forge it with live steel. Naruto, then let's start. Anyway, if there's a mistake, we can always refine live steel. So after another 2 days, after 3 failures, the 4th furnace was a success. Uncle Manager was very excited. This was the first time he had successfully forged a treasured sword that contained a sky-high price like live steel. Naruto suggested, it's too new. We need to make it older. Uncle Manager suddenly understood. That makes sense. Then, Uncle Manager repeatedly washed and polished some materials that could restrain live steel. Finally, he made a brand new sword that looked old. Naruto, it would be perfect if we tied the cloth strip that Zabuza used. It's a pity that the cloth strip was blown up by the detonation talisman. Uncle Manager was deeply convinced. Uncle Manager, then what do we do with this sword? Naruto, of course we sell it. But we have to pretend that we don't know anything about this sword and sell it randomly. Don't people like to find treasures in the general antique market? Uncle Manager, kid, you're born to do great things. Naruto laughed dryly. It was more like doing bad things. After selling the sword, The two of them had doubled the cost of the steel they had spent in the past 2 days. This was the effect of lowering the price to the extreme. It was obvious how popular this sword was. In this regard, Konoha naturally received some news. It was just that he didn't know that what he was selling was fake. An Umbu ninja asked Sandame Naruto, Sama, do you want to buy it back? After all, the value of that sword. Naruto shook his head. That saber brought me more trouble than it was worth. At first, I was worried that Naruto would take the saber for himself. Now that I've sold it, even at a rubbish price, the trouble is finally gone. The ninja retreated. Sandame Naruto muttered to himself, we should thank the manager of the ninja shop for this. The manager must have a good eye, so he persuaded Naruto to sell the sword. At the same time, in order to compensate him, maybe he really felt the potential of this little guy, so he taught him forging skills to strengthen his body. This transaction, Naruto didn't lose anything. Third, Naruto nodded and felt that this was the case. He then continued to work on other documents. Naruto, on the other hand, had been hammering for a week. In addition, because he didn't lack money and food, he became more robust, and his eyes revealed a heroic spirit. There was also a kind of spirit that only people who practice body arts would have. The manager stared blankly at the furnace. Naruto, are you sure you don't want to forge a sword? Naruto continued hammering, and said without turning his head, Uncle Manager, if you're itching for a skill, just forge it. As long as you don't use up all the live steel for me. After the live steel was refined, it was deposited at the manager's place. Perhaps the two of them were birds of a feather, and the trust between them was built at lightning speed. In fact, Naruto didn't know that this was the effect of increasing his perception after his soul power increased. It was also called spiritual sense, and it was an intuition towards danger and people through appearances. Uncle Manager, but if you don't ask for it, I can't forge it, Naruto. Uncle Manager actually had this problem. It felt good that he didn't need to be cured. Originally, he was worried that the live steel would be wasted. Now he didn't have to worry anymore. Naruto looked back at the manager, who was staring blankly at the furnace, like a salted fish that had lost its dream. He couldn't help but feel sorry for him. After thinking for a while, he said, Uncle Manager, why don't you forge a sword suitable for the wind attribute for me? Uncle Manager clapped his hands and instantly came back to life. I was waiting for you to say that. Well, Naruto had planned to wait until he cultivated the ice attribute before forging it. Thinking about it carefully, he didn't know how long he would have to wait. Uncle Manager moved closer to Naruto. Any other requirements? Naruto, the length of the sword will be based on the sword in my hand. It's also straight, and there's no need for a sword guard. Uncle Manager, okay. Naruto, as for the material selection, add a piece of wind essence stone, a piece of water essence stone, the honeycomb-shaped alloy extracted from the broadsword, the transparent one to increase chakra's permeability, and the soft one to increase willfulness. The main body will be made of cyan-patterned steel, 30 grams of live steel. What do you think? Uncle Manager was dumbfounded. Uncle Manager, the wind essence stone and the water essence stone are used to increase chakra's permeability with the wind attribute and water attribute. You know how to change between the two attributes of chakra? Naruto, just a little. With the wind attribute, I can cut a branch as thick as a finger. With the water attribute, I can control a bowl of water to float in the air. Uncle Manager. After meeting Naruto, he felt that his worldview was constantly being refreshed. Uncle Manager, in that case, I have no more questions. Cyan-patterned steel can be compatible with both the wind and water attributes of chakra. It's not bad. It seems that you already have a draft for this sword. Naruto, you can say that, Uncle Manager, but 30 grams of live steel is a bit of a waste. After all, the live steel only permeates the entire broadsword, which is only 10 grams. No, your sword only needs 5 grams to completely permeate the entire sword. At that time, even if the blade breaks, the live steel will retract to the part that connects to the hilt with the essence of the broken part. Naruto, but when the live steel and cyan pattern steel are together, the extensibility of the blade will be enhanced. When chakra is injected, this sword can extend 3 times its length at will. Uncle Manager, extend? Isn't that the property of extensible steel? Naruto, yes, but the live steel and cyan pattern steel will also stimulate this property, but the difference is that it won't be as abnormal as extensible steel. Well, according to the book, the one on your left is the 12th book, page 23, line 8. Uncle Manager flipped through the book according to Naruto's instructions. F***CK. Well, Uncle Manager had recently learned this swearing from Naruto. He felt that it was very sonorous and powerful. Only this sentence could express his feelings at this time. Uncle Manager, when did you memorize all my books? Naruto, I just memorized it. Well, after all, it's a metal that fits my expectations. Uncle Manager squinted his eyes. Really? Naruto's eyes were full of innocence and sincerity. He nodded obediently and said, Yes, yes. Uncle Manager, since you can memorize this so clearly, why don't you memorize the other books as well? Do you know that you're wasting your talent? Naruto's expression suddenly froze. Uncle Manager, from today until the day before you leave, memorize 2 books for me. Naruto didn't know what kind of expression he should make on his face. He really met a good master. However, Naruto suddenly thought of something. He had such a good master, but he still didn't know what Uncle Manager's name was. Naruto, Uncle Manager. I realized that I still don't know your name. How should I address you? Uncle Manager, let me think, I'm so angry that I'm confused. Naruto, Uncle Manager, forget it, just call me Uncle Manager. Naruto, did he forget his name because he was so angry? In the end, Naruto really didn't hold back and directly called him Uncle Manager. Chapter 33. Since he was using a sword made of live steel, the uncle naturally had to be very careful. Moreover, none of the other materials were ordinary. Therefore, the forging was delayed for several days. He read a lot of information and calculated the best material ratio before he started. The refining of the materials could now be completely handed over to Naruto. His pair of sledgehammers were already very good at it. The uncle still had to personally fuse the materials together. After all, his eyesight and intuition were better than Naruto's by reading a few books. The wind essence stone and the water essence stone were ground into fine powder, and then fused together with the green vein steel to form 2 unique lines. Then, after tens of thousands of times of beating, they were twisted together again, making it even more mysterious. Then, the 3 alloys extracted from the beheading knife were added. The amount wasn't much, but it was carefully calculated according to the ratio. Finally, live steel was added. Repeatedly beating, using Naruto's chakra as a catalyst. In the words of the store manager, a sword forged this way was more suitable for Naruto to use. When the sword was finally out of the furnace, it needed to be sacrificed to the sword. Naruto's blood was used. The store manager said that this could make the sword have spirituality. These weren't in the books. Naruto did as he was told, although he didn't feel any difference in the end. Store manager, are you going to carry 2 swords in the future? Naruto, no, 1 is enough. Store manager, then why don't you try the new sword with your original one? Naruto, how do I try it? Slash it. To be honest, Naruto really didn't have the heart to let the sword that he had personally forged bit by bit with other weapons. Store manager, if you feel bad, you can inject a little chakra. Then, Naruto injected chakra into the sword and was about to slash at the other sword. Store manager, wait. Naruto was nervous, but the store manager's praise almost made him hurt. Store manager, since you injected chakra into one of the swords, you should do the same for the other one, right? Otherwise, why are you probing me? Don't worry, if it's broken, we can just redo it. Anyway, we still have 2 weeks. That's enough. Naruto. In the end, both swords were infused with equal amounts of chakra. Kesuke. It wasn't the sound of metal clashing. The sword that hadn't been used before was chopped into 2 pieces like tofu. Looking at the new one, there wasn't even a scratch on it. Naruto. F***CK. So awesome. Manager, if we don't do this, we'll be letting down all those precious materials. As long as this sword is slightly nurtured, it will be as famous as those famous swords. Of course, don't compare it to Kusanagi. Naruto narrowed his eyes and looked at the store manager. Tell me, did you cut corners in the last round? That was a sword worth 500,000 taels of silver. 500,000 taels of silver was almost all for the materials, and the labor costs were negligible. The store manager rolled his eyes. Try using that broken sword to cut a kitchen knife. It can cut iron like mud. Naruto really went into the room and found a kitchen knife to try. It wasn't as exaggerated as the store manager said, but it still cut a kitchen knife in half without any curling of the blade. This seemed to show that the new sword was indeed extraordinary. Manager, give this new sword a name. As a sword, it should have its own name. Naruto was still very sensible at this time. He quickly said, the store manager spent a lot of effort to create this sword. You can name it. The store manager was really happy. Then I won't be polite. Manager, when this sword is waved, I feel that it's really beautiful. It's like a beauty waving her sleeves. Naruto, wait. Are you sure you're not insulting me? A beauty waving her sleeves. Are you saying that I'm thin and weak? Manager. F***CK off. I'm talking about the beauty of the sword. It has nothing to do with you. Naruto. Manager, don't interrupt. I haven't finished yet. It gives me the feeling of a beauty waving her sleeves, so I'm going to name it Green Sleeves. Green Sleeves. Rainbow beauty dress. Naruto. So it's Green Sleeves? Manager. Yes. Green Sleeves. Then he stared at Naruto with his bell-sized eyes, as if he would stare at him to death if he didn't agree. Naruto. Okay, Green Sleeves it is then. The wind blew, and the sword hummed as if it had a spirit responding to it. The wind was still, and the humming of the sword stopped, adding to the charm. Naruto. Did my ears just break? The store manager's eyes were fixed on the sword. The sword's body was like stars. The dots of stars seemed chaotic, but there seemed to be a pattern to follow. The store manager shook his head. You don't understand. We might have really created an amazing sword. We need to nurture it more in the future. Don't neglect it. Naruto felt that the store manager's words were amazing. How do I nurture it? Take a bath? Rub it with perfume? Manager, it's enough to kill more people. Naruto, there were treasured swords, but Naruto didn't know how to use them yet. The store manager didn't want the treasured swords to be covered in dust, so he casually cut 2 wooden swords to teach Naruto. How could Naruto let go of such a good opportunity? He hurriedly followed the store manager's example. Although he had the wood leaf swordsmanship in his head, the wood leaf swordsmanship, Dance of the 3 Suns and Moons, divided one person into 3. The 3 clones accelerated to the extreme and attacked the enemy. It used illusions to confuse the enemy's judgment and weaken the enemy's perception of things and time around them. In other words, the speed wasn't that fast. The technique itself was just a fusion of ninjutsu and sword. It was completely different from the way of the sword. Manager, the sword is a weapon of killing. If you want to learn it, you have to know what fear is. Naruto. Fear? Fear. Killing intent. Manager, it's a bit like that, but you're a ninja, not a samurai. Your killing intent has to be hidden. It's erratic, like the wind blowing on your face, like tears without a trace. Naruto. Fortunately, he wasn't a 12-year-old kid in his soul. Otherwise, it would be strange if he didn't understand. And even if he could barely understand the meaning of the uncle's words now, but he only knew, and he still didn't know how to do it. Naruto, manager, can you tell me what to do? I'm a bit confused. The store manager was unfathomable. You don't need to do anything now. These words are like a seed, sown in your heart. In the future, you just need to pay attention to it a little and experience it in battle. It will bear your own fruit, and that will be your fear. Of course, if you want to have a deeper understanding, you need to go to the land of iron and fight with a real swordsman. Then you'll understand. The way of the sword isn't like the way ninjas use it now, but if a ninja understands the way of the sword, it will stimulate more power. There was once a person in Woodleaf who did it, but that person is gone now. There was a person who did it. Naruto thought about it. Don't tell me you're talking about Woodleaf's White Fang? Kakashi Hataki's father? Manager, huh? You know. Not bad, not bad. Okay, Naruto. Then you've planted the seed. What are you going to do next? Are we just going to stand here like this? Stupidly holding a wooden sword? Manager, come, use the sword in your hand to attack me. Finally, the two of them began to exchange blows. In fact, the store manager wasn't someone who only knew how to talk big. Naruto wasn't weak now, but he was still beaten into a pulp. Manager, in the future, before you forge every morning and evening, you can spar with me. At this point, there were still 2 weeks before the 1-month mission deadline. Chapter 34. In the last 2 weeks, the power of the shadow clone technique was once again demonstrated. Naruto's main body spent all his time from morning to night, except for his meals and rest. When he could wield the hammer nimbly, Naruto began to forge with weights. In the manager's words, he was learning skill from clumsiness. Very good. Then, the clone fought with the manager. At the same time, there were 200 people. 100 were chopping wood with wind escape, and the other 100 were learning how to control water. The manager was jealous that the chakra in Naruto's body was so abnormal at such a young age. Therefore, he showed no mercy during the battle, and often beat Naruto's clones until they exploded. 2 weeks passed quickly, and soon, it was the last day. Naruto put down his hammer. Naruto said shyly, "Mr. Manager, let me treat you to a meal on the last day to thank you for training me in the past month." Naruto had learned a lot in the past month. He was even confident that he could fight by Jun one-on-one. This was all thanks to the uncle, so he really wanted to thank him. "Manager, treat me to a meal? To a restaurant? That's boring. Why don't we go hunt some game and let you have a taste of my cooking? I promise you'll enjoy it." Naruto smiled. "Okay. I'll listen to you." The manager wasn't bragging. Naruto really enjoyed the food. Rabbits, fish, snakes, wild boars. If ordinary people saw the two of them eating, they would definitely be scared to death. Their appetite was inhuman. This change became more and more obvious as Naruto's body continued to strengthen. Seeing Naruto eating happily, the manager said proudly, "How is it? Delicious, right?" Naruto ate until his mouth was covered in oil. "Delicious. I'm afraid that after tasting your cooking, other people's food will be too difficult to swallow." The manager was even happier. "Not bad, you have a sweet mouth. I like people like you who can flatter me." Naruto said frankly, "I'm telling the truth." The store manager laughed. "That's why I said you got the right spot." The two of them looked at each other and laughed happily. After the meal was over, the uncle took out the metal box containing the living gold and said to Naruto, "Are you sure you want to leave that thing with me?" Naruto lazily hugged his stomach as he lay on the ground. He lazily said, "Leave it with me. I don't have time to forge it anyway. Just leave it with Uncle. I'll look for you when I need to forge something new." The store manager accepted it and patted the metal box. "Okay. Since you trust me, I'll accept it." When the break was over, the store manager brought Naruto to the store. The store manager pointed at the interior of the room with his thumb and said, "Look around and see if there's anything useful." When Naruto heard this, He felt like he was giving it away for free. However, he did not intend to rip the uncle off. After all, the uncle was a good person. He pointed at the detonating talisman on the counter and said, "Yes. Detonating talismans." The store manager was amused. "Didn't you buy more than 40 of them before? Have you used them all?" Naruto's eyes lingered on several different detonating talismans. "I've used them all. Otherwise, how could I have gotten that good knife?" The store manager raised his eyebrows and nodded in admiration. 40 detonating talismans in exchange for 1 kilogram of living steel? That's a good deal. As he spoke, he gave Naruto a stack of detonating talismans that were obviously 2 levels higher. There were a total of 15 of them. The store manager pointed at the detonating talisman and said, "This is a high-level detonating talisman. 1 talisman costs more than 10,000 taels. Use it sparingly. The next time you buy something like this, I'll charge you." An explosive talisman that costs more than 10,000 taels? Then wouldn't 1 talisman be as powerful as 20 ordinary ones? This thing was good. He had to hide it and not let teacher Kakashi know. Thus, Naruto asked for another 40 or so ordinary talismans to divert Kakashi's attention. After the detonating talismans were given out, the store manager was suddenly a little worried. "You have to be careful with so many detonating talismans. If something happens, you have to take responsibility. Don't say that you bought them from me." Naruto repeatedly promised, Yes, I definitely won't say that I bought them from you." Then, "Master Store Manager, I'll leave now. I'll come find you if I need anything." Store Manager, be smart when you're on a mission. No matter how simple the mission is, you can't let your guard down. Many geniuses die before they can truly grow up. Naruto was a little touched by the store manager's advice. He smiled and replied, "Of course. With the multiple shadow clone technique, I can't guarantee anything else, but my ability to escape is definitely top-notch." The store manager nodded in agreement. "Yes, that's true. Also, don't show your green sleeves to others so easily. If you encounter someone who knows how to use a knife, you might get yourself killed. Naruto, I also understand the principle of treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime." Store manager, treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. That's quite a novel phrase. Okay, let's not talk nonsense. Let's go. Also, take this with you. It's a bit of my own forging experience. Also, there's a special hammer in this scroll for you. You're very talented in forging, so don't waste it. Naruto bowed like a disciple. This disciple thanks Master Onimaru for his teachings. Onimaru was the store manager's name, and also the name of the forging lineage that the store manager inherited. The store manager claimed that he wasn't qualified to inherit this name, so normally, he would only let Naruto call him Master Store Manager. However, before leaving, Naruto couldn't help but seriously bow like a disciple to express his gratitude to the store manager. Looking at Naruto's back as he left, the store manager took a deep breath. He sighed. Not bad, smart, talented, and willing to endure hardships. He's worthy of that girl, Chiba. It's a pity that he already has a girl he likes. Maybe I can take in a son-in-law. Chiba will be coming in a few days. It should be interesting when the two meet. Both of them are cultivation maniacs. Naruto returned home and opened the storage scroll that the store manager gave him. There was a hammer in the scroll. It was a long-handled hammer used to forge steel. Surprisingly, it wasn't heavy at all. Instead, it was very light. Looking at the metallic texture and patterns on the hammer, Naruto had a guess. He tried to inject some chakra into it. The weight of the hammer increased. Just as Naruto guessed, the hammer was made of the same material as the heavy metal block that he was wearing. Naruto felt warm in his heart. "I've troubled you, Master Store Manager." He picked up another scroll, which contained some forging experience. Putting down the scroll, Naruto sorted out what he had gained since he came to this world. Now, The most outstanding ability was naturally the shadow clone technique. It could be said that without the shadow clone technique, he wouldn't have been able to pass the graduation exam. Without the shadow clone technique, he wouldn't have been able to improve so quickly. The second precious thing is that Chakra has obtained 4 attributes: the wind attribute of the devouring Yuan Naruto, the water attribute of the devouring Ghost Brothers and Zabuza, the ice attribute of the devouring White, and the yang attribute of the Kyuubi. Although Naruto couldn't control any one of them, it was absolutely significant for the future. Not to mention other things, the Nine Tails Yang attribute alone had benefited Naruto a lot. The Nine Tails Yang attribute had a strong healing ability. His improvement in strength in the past month was all thanks to Chakra's potential healing ability. Even the store manager was full of praise for his speed of improvement. He even said that he wasn't a human, but a humanoid monster. Third, the forging technique that could temper the body, as well as forging knowledge. Not to mention the help that the forging technique that could temper the body gave to Naruto, the knowledge alone was enough for him to change his profession and become a respected swordsmith. The fourth item was the newly forged sword, Qingxiu. A treasured sword made with 500,000 taels could cut iron like mud. Its power could be seen. At the same time, when chakra was injected, the sword body could be stretched 3 times as long as he wanted. With the wind and water dual attribute chakra's permeability, it was perfect. Fifth, the cultivation of swordsmanship. If he removed the weight on his body, Naruto was confident that he could deal with Bai Zhengjing for hundreds of rounds. Of course, this was without using the ice escape secret technique and the sunglasses ice crystal. Sixth, the substitution technique, the transformation technique. The combination of the substitution technique, the transformation technique, and the shadow clone technique was simply wonderful. In addition, Naruto also had a huge piece of priceless steel stored in the store manager's office. In addition, there were more than 5 million taels in his bank card. Naruto was a little surprised. He found that he had unknowingly walked his own path on the bloody road of ninja. He got up and increased the weight on his body to 50%, 410 kilograms. It was very heavy, a little uncomfortable. When walking, he had to use the skill of walking on water to gather chakra under his feet. Otherwise, it would be easy to step on the ground and make a hole. But he was barely able to wear it. Naruto, when I can get used to this weight, the first gate of the Hashimoto Tonku should be no problem. Originally, this time would be very long, at least 3 months, or even half a year. But after learning the forging technique that could temper the body, this time was greatly reduced. Chapter 35. The next day, Naruto returned to the team. After not seeing Naruto for a month, Hinata wanted to die. Now that she saw him, she blushed. Naruto-kun, I feel that you've grown taller? Naruto touched his head and compared it with Sasuke's. Ah, I've grown taller? Naruto looked at Sasuke. Sasuke also looked at Naruto seriously. At this time, Naruto's hair was a little long. He probably hadn't had a haircut for a month. Of course, this wasn't the main point. The main point was that Sasuke felt an indescribable aura from Naruto. Sasuke, there's a big change. Yo, Naruto is back. Kakashi's voice came from behind. Everyone was used to this Kakashi who was always late. Kakashi, just in time. I have 3 movie tickets here. You can go watch a movie tomorrow. Movie tickets? After taking the movie tickets, Naruto saw that the name of the movie was Princess Wind and Cloud. In other words, they were going to Snow Country? Please. Why couldn't their team's mission be more normal like the other classes? Last month, they had just received a ridiculous sea-level mission. Now, they were going to Snow Country? This was an A-level mission. After Kakashi gave the 3 of them the movie tickets, he left in a hurry. Before leaving, Kakashi said, "For our next mission, I still have something to do. The 3 of you haven't seen each other for a month. You can have a good chat. See you at the movie theater tomorrow. Bye-bye." The 3 of them. He really came and went like the wind. As for the mission tomorrow, he didn't mention it at all. This made it difficult for Naruto to bring it up. Sadness. Hinata was very excited. Holding the movie tickets with both hands, she said with a face full of anticipation, "Then, we're going to watch a movie together tomorrow?" As he spoke, he stole a glance at Naruto. Naruto couldn't express the bitterness in his heart, and he couldn't get excited. Like a wilted eggplant, he said disinterestedly, "It should be. It would be nice to watch a movie with Hinata, but the thought of going to snow country." It was another thrilling trip where he had his head tied to his belt. Naruto's lethargic look was like a basin of water that extinguished most of Hinata's enthusiasm. She tapped her finger on her chest in disappointment. "Naruto-kun, doesn't want to go?" Naruto said, "That's not it. It's just that I suddenly have a bad feeling." Sasuke cast a sidelong glance at him when he mentioned the ominous premonition. He has been paying attention to Naruto. Last time, when Naruto said that he had an ominous premonition, Zabuza quickly came out. Sasuke looked at the movie tickets in his hand and said, "You mean to say that these movie tickets are related to the mission?" Naruto nodded. "The weasel pays the chicken a New Year's greeting. How can it be a good thing to give 3 movie tickets for no reason?" Sasuke. "It seems to make sense." Naruto suddenly became spirited. "That's right, in the month that I wasn't here, did you all have special training? It's best if we did. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to complete this mission." Sasuke. "Well, I learned the shadow clone technique from Kakashi-sensei." Shadow clone technique? Are you kidding me? With your little chakra, what's the use of learning the shadow clone technique? No, it's still useful, but why didn't you learn Chidori? My liver hurts. The DPS in the team can't deal damage, so they have to rely on agility to survive. But, if Sasuke can also get a lot of points, that's not bad either. With a last glimmer of hope, Naruto asked tentatively, "Then, how many clones can you split into now?" Sasuke couldn't see anything from the movie tickets, so he put them in his pocket and replied, "I can split into 5 clones with a guaranteed attack time of 10 minutes. Oh my god, what can 5 clones do? The last glimmer of hope was extinguished. Before they even set off, Naruto saw that the road ahead was bleak. He shifted his gaze to Hinata. Hinata's little hands were still poking each other in front of her chest. "I can use all 64 8 trigrams palms now, and I learned the empty palm technique." Hinata is still quite reliable, but it would be great if she could learn the 8 trigrams palms revolving heaven. But it seems impossible. At this stage, only the great genius Ningji Kuin who has maxed out physical skills could learn that technique. Naruto encouraged, "Not bad, not bad. Hinata, good job." Hinata blushed shyly and continued to poke her chest with 2 fingers. This month, Hinata felt that she was lacking, so she went to find her father for special training so that she could be of help to Naruto in future missions. Now that she heard Naruto's encouragement, she felt that the tiredness of the past month was instantly healed. "I have to work harder in the future," Hinata encouraged herself in her heart. Sasuke changed the topic to Naruto. "What about your moves? You must have learned a lot this month, right?" Naruto. "My moves aren't suitable for fighting. You can use Shadow Clone." Sasuke immediately used the Shadow Clone technique and created a clone. Naruto nodded and pulled out the green sleeve sword. He held the sword hilt with both hands, and the wind attribute of chakra changed. Vertical slash. Sasuke's clone retreated to dodge. It avoided the blade, but it was still chopped into pieces. Sasuke's expression was serious. "This is..." Naruto then swung his sword at a branch. The sword didn't touch the branch, but the branch was directly chopped into pieces. Naruto explained, "It's a little application of chakra's nature change. It's not mature yet, but its destructive power is shocking. The blade can extend 3 meters forward." Naruto didn't want to chop the branch into pieces. Naruto's original intention was to cut it horizontally from the middle. The current situation seemed to have shocking destructive power, but in reality, it was because Naruto wasn't proficient enough in controlling the wind attribute. When the incision can converge into a line, the power of the wind chakra will be exerted to the extreme. Sasuke praised, "Very strong move." Next, Naruto tried Hinata's ability. Very good, the acupoints were accurately hit. Once Hinata got close and sealed the acupoints, chakra would be sealed. For a ninja, losing chakra is almost like being trampled on. After all, even if it's taijutsu, powerful moves also require the support of chakra. Hinata, who entered the 8 trigram 64 palm state, was also very fast. It should be a kind of taijutsu technique similar to the body flicker technique. If he wants to get rid of it, he can only try to remove all the weight on his body and use chakra at full strength. But Naruto knew that this doesn't mean that Hinata is strong. Hinata's problem is not the development of her physical strength, but the weakness of her personality. Hesitation, compassion, for a ninja, without absolute strength, is a very dangerous thing. To sum up the current situation of Sasuke and Hinata, the person who should have a skill point to save his life, the person who should have a skill point to save his life because of lack of experience can't save his life. If Sasuke learned Chidori and Hinata learned Revolving Heaven, then what is there to be afraid of in this mission? Even if he can't KO the whole game, he can at least save his life. Sigh, who is going to take the blame? Well, Sasuke learned Shadow Clone Jutsu probably because of my multiple Shadow Clone Jutsu, but I'm wrongly taking the blame. He learned multiple Shadow Clone Jutsu because chakra has no place to use it. Naruto scolded the 2 disappointing teammates in his heart. Then he thought of another thing. His skill tree seems to be off as well. Rasengan, at Chunin's level, as long as he hits the target, there is no pressure at all. But he got the order of learning chakra's nature change and learning Rasengan wrong. Who is to blame? Blame the shop owner. The innocent store manager sneezed as he stretched his back. Luckily, he didn't fall over. Chapter 36. The next day, the 3 of them brought the movie tickets that teacher Kakashi gave them to the movie theater. They watched Princess of Wind and Cloud. The story was about a down-and-out princess who led her people to defeat the rebels and restore the country. It was very ambitious. After the movie was shown, there were many good reviews. Many people were even moved to tears. Hinata was one of them. Hinata's eyes were filled with tears and her little face was red. Naruto-kun, Princess of Wind and Cloud is too great. Naruto. It was obvious that Hinata had become a fan. Naruto sighed in his heart. They would see the real person later. He hoped that Hinata would not be too excited. After coming out of the movie theater, Kakashi also appeared. Kakashi waved at them from afar. Yo, good morning everyone. Was the movie good? Early, as for Kakashi's concept of time, Hinata's eyes were filled with little stars. She was deeply grateful to the person who gave her this movie ticket. It was good. Thank you so much, teacher Kakashi. Princess of Wind and Cloud is really good looking. Kakashi scratched his head embarrassedly. He smiled and squinted his eyes. It's good that it's good. After all, it has something to do with our mission. It was like an old fox's smile. One look and one could tell that it was not a good thing. Naruto complained in his heart. Kakashi continued, cough, cough. Due to your outstanding performance in the Wave Country mission, 3rd generation Naruto should give us a special mission this time. It is to escort the female lead to the Snow Country to film the sequel. Hinata's eyes were not small to begin with. After hearing this news, they became bigger and bigger. She was obviously surprised and happy. Really? We can see Princess of Wind and Cloud like this? That's really great. Sasuke and Naruto looked at each other. They did not need to communicate and could understand each other. The 3 movie tickets were indeed like a weasel paying a visit to a chicken. Kakashi said, also, because we're escorting a superstar, the mission is A. If the mission rating is high, the reward will be high. This mission is the best example of a high-quality mission with little money. Since all of you have suffered a lot in the Wave Nations mission, 3rd Naruto-sama has specially given this mission to our class. Hearing this, Naruto felt that even his stomach was twitching. What kind of F***king special approval is this? They can't wait for us to sacrifice ourselves. Can we not accept this kind of reward? Huh? Kakashi spoke passionately. Also, when we return from this mission, it will be almost time for the Chunin exam. If you guys perform well in this mission, I will recommend you to take the Chunin exam. Naruto. Chunin's exam? He would rather not participate in Chunin's exam. 2 villages died in a row. The level of danger was enough to be recorded in the history of the ninja world. Kakashi said, "Let's go, I'll take you to see our client." Seeing that everyone except Hinata wasn't in high spirits, Kakashi also couldn't get excited. The smile he pulled with great difficulty was replaced by a dead fish eye. When they entered the studio, the staff saw Woodleaf's forehead protector and greeted them, "You guys are Woodleaf's ninjas. You guys came at the right time. Third Elder went to find Miss Feng Shuehui. You guys can help us find Miss Feng Shui." Feng Shuehui was the female lead of Princess Wind Cloud's movie. She was also the person everyone wanted to protect. At the same time, her other identity was the Princess of the Snow Nation. Of course, other than Naruto, no one in the team knew the identity of the princess. Because the princess didn't want to return to the Snow Nation, she had been trying to escape recently. The reason why she didn't want to go back was because she knew that if the uncle who usurped the throne knew that she was still alive, he would definitely kill her. Kakashi said, "Your mission is here. Find Miss Feng Shuehui." What else could Naruto say? Let's work. If he remembered correctly, there were 4 enemies in this mission. Big Boss Windflower Raging Waves, the younger brother of the female lead's father. With the chakra armor developed by the Snow Nation, he could fuse the water and wind attributes of chakra together to use ice release ninjutsu without any Kekkei Genkai. He also had 3 subordinates. They were Wolf Fong Avalanche, who had a grudge with Kakashi. The female ninja who can fly with her chakra armor is called Crane Wing Snow. Winter Bear Freezing Rain, who had the chakra armor. What these 4 people have in common is that they all use the special chakra armor of the Snow Country. Hinata used Byakugan to find the target, found her. Princess Feng Shuehui is by the river in the south. Not good. A group of bad guys surrounded the princess. Bad guys surrounded the princess? Hinata suddenly accelerated. Naruto followed closely behind. Then they saw the crew members and bodyguards running out to chase after the female lead. As soon as Hinata saw the female lead being surrounded, her fan soul was instantly awakened. She shouted, "You people, let go of the princess." Naruto was about to stop Hinata, but Hinata suddenly accelerated and used 8 trigrams 64 palms. Naruto was still carrying the weight, so how could he catch up? By the time he arrived, all of them were already lying on the ground. Naruto's mouth twitched. Hinata also had a fierce time. "Hinata, Princess Feng Shuehui, can you give me an autograph?" "Feng Shuehui, you are..." "Hinata, we are Woodleaf ninjas. This time we are responsible for protecting you to the Snow Country. At the same time, I am also your fan. Can you give me an autograph?" Feng Shuehui frowned, and a look of disgust appeared in her eyes. "Who wants to go to the Snow Country? Move. I don't need your protection." As she spoke, she raised her hand and pushed Hinata away. She flipped onto her horse and rode away. Hinata was stunned on the spot, holding the pen and paper in her hand. Naruto comforted her. "Sigh. This princess doesn't seem easy to get along with. Hinata? Are you okay?" Hinata shook her head. "I'm fine, I don't think she is such a person." Naruto felt that he didn't hear what Hinata said clearly. Hinata raised her head and said seriously, "I don't think she is an annoying person." Naruto. After being pushed away, Naruto wanted to ask where this feeling came from. A woman's intuition? Does that really exist? Naruto. Then should we continue to chase? Hinata. Aha. Okay. At this time, Feng Shuehui had already disappeared from sight. Hinata was about to use Byakugan, but Naruto stopped her. "Don't use Byakugan all the time. Right now it is a burden for you to use Byakugan. Let's just follow the horse's hooves." They caught up with Feng Shuahui again, and Feng Shuahui had already ridden a horse through several streets and entered a bar. Hinata came to Feng Shuahui's side. Feng Shuahui raised her head and glanced at them. You guys really don't want to give up. I won't give you an autograph, and I will never go to the snow country. I really want to knock her out and carry her away. Am I too violent? Naruto stood on the side and reflected. Intentionally or unintentionally, he glanced at the guests in the bar. Ding! The door of the bar was pushed open again. It was Kakashi and a man with round-rimmed glasses. The man with round-rimmed glasses was the client of this mission, Asama Santai 2. Santai 2 was in a hurry. Miss Feng Shuahui, the ship to the snow country is about to set sail if you don't hurry. However, before he finished, he was interrupted by Feng Shuahui. Let's stop here. Princess Feng Yun will not take this pirate ship. Santai 2 said anxiously, How can that be? What are you talking about? Feng Shuahui did not care. Isn't this good? Isn't this a common thing? When the movie is making a sequel, change the lead, change the director, and so on. Santai 2 shouted, Please don't talk nonsense. The role of Princess Feng Yun is yours, no one else. And, if you don't do it this time, then your career won't be able to take a new step. Feng Shuahui still did not care. Isn't this good? I don't care. Santai 2 stood on the side helplessly. Miss Feng Shuahui, Kakashi came over. There is no other way. Feng Shuahui turned her head slightly drunk and saw a scarlet eye. Then, her head became heavier and heavier. Kakashi's face was proud of the success. We can set off now. Naruto complained in his heart, You are very skilled. It seems that this is not the first time you use the Sharingan to do this kind of thing. I just don't know which family's girl has been ruined. Maybe it is a man. A handsome young man like Xiangbai. Because he did not want to participate in this mission, Naruto did not notice that he was standing on the edge of the dark side. Resentment soared to the sky. Chapter 37. On the simple wooden bed, Feng Shuahui woke up faintly. My head, it hurts. Did you drink too much? Feng Shuahui opened her eyes. She felt that everything around her was shaking. At this time, the voice of Third Taichu came from outside the room. Miss Shuahui, are you awake? Feng Shuahui pressed her temple with her hand and replied, Ah. Third Taichu, please help me get some water. Soon, Third Taichu brought the water. Feng Shuahui was still sleepy and yawned. I don't know if it's an illusion or not, but I feel that my body is still shaking. Third Taichu stood aside honestly and didn't dare to look at Feng Shuahui. He looked down at the basin of water in his hand and murmured, It's not a psychological effect. Ah. Feng Shuahui raised her head and looked at Third Taichu. Third Taichu didn't say anything and buried his head in the ground. A bad premonition hit her heart. Feng Shuahui ran down from the bed, opened the door and rushed out. The blue sky was cloudless, and the snow-white sail was standing high in front of her. The sail was fluttering under the wind. At the same time, there was the sound of crashing waves in her ears. This is a ship? Feng Shuahui was desperate. What the hell is going on? Third Taichu was silent. On the other side, Naruto was doing morning exercises. One end of a long rope was tied to the ship, and the other end was tied to his waist. He stepped on the sea, and while being dragged by the ship, he waved a hammer and hammered the sea again and again. Looking carefully, a large depression appeared on the sea surface every time he hammered it. It was a semicircle. This was the effect of Naruto covering chakra with the hammer. Using the trick of walking on water, he could feel the same sensation of hitting a solid object while hitting the water surface. Of course, the reaction force produced in this way was a little different, but it didn't affect the tempering of the body. At the same time, on the deck, there were 50 Naruto holding water balls attentively. Well, Naruto began to practice Rasengan. Hopefully, it was not too late to mend the pen after the sheep were lost. Hinata looked at the busy Naruto and didn't disturb him. Instead, she turned to Sasuke and asked, Is Naruto-kun cultivating? Sasuke nodded. Then, he found a place to familiarize himself with his shadow clone. Hinata looked at the two of them. Naruto-kun and Sasuke-kun are both working so hard, I can't be lazy either. Thus, the three roaches entered cultivation mode. Kakashi held the intimate paradise in his hands and glanced at the three of them with dead fish eyes. He sighed and said, "Well, it's good to be young." However, Kakashi's gaze turned serious. Naruto's progress is really fast. He actually discovered that the multiple shadows technique can be used in cultivation so quickly. But this method can only be used by people like Chakra who are close to monsters. And that water ball, what technique could it be? It shouldn't be that technique, right? At this time, the 50 Naruto were staring at the water ball in his hand. Kakashi subconsciously opened his Sharingan and carefully observed the water ball. The water ball was rotating clockwise. It was a little unstable, but Kakashi could see a knack for it. Clockwise, it was exactly in the direction where Naruto created chakra. Poof! One of the water balls in Naruto's hands finally broke. Naruto's clone cheered. "Yeah. I finished it first." The other Naruto urged, "Stop showing off, quickly share your experience with us." The Naruto that broke the water ball released the clone with a bang. The other 49 Naruto showed a look of realization, so that's how it is. Then, poof 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 poof. Poof. More and more water balls broke. Kakashi's eyelids twitched, this kind of cheating training method. On the sea, Naruto, who was using the reaction force of the hammer to temper his body, stopped after a blow. Naruto, is the second stage of training over so soon? It seems that my talent in form changes is much higher than nature changes. Rasengan training. First stage, focus on chakra. Second stage, stable and continuous output. Third stage, speed up chakra's speed of output rotation and burst out the power of chakra. Fourth stage, compress chakra's power to the extreme. Then let's enter the third stage. Instruction: go back to the house and get the water balls, one for each person, then rotate clockwise from all directions to the center to gather chakra until the water ball bursts. Multiple shadow clone technique. 50 Naruto appeared on the sea again, either pulling the rope on Naruto's body or throwing one another to the deck. Soon, 50 Narutos stepped on the deck again. Naruto's main body once again raised the hammer and continued to temper his body. Kakashi saw it in his eyes. Water balls? He continued to observe. But this time, it was obviously not as smooth as the first time, and it lasted for a long time. Kakashi couldn't keep staring. After all, the Sharingan was too much of a burden for him, so he continued to watch his intimate paradise. On the deck, the other staff members were also busy. They were busy setting up the scene. Feng Shuehui once again changed into the female lead's costume and prepared to shoot. The first day passed just like that. Besides eating, sleeping, and resting, Naruto had been cultivating. Sasuke also didn't stay idle. Hinata was encouraged by the two of them. Although she wanted to watch Princess Feng Shuehui film, she didn't want to fall behind, so she continued to cultivate. "I love to cultivate, really." Hinata lied to herself again and again in her heart. Days like this went on for a week. Until one morning, a huge iceberg appeared in front of the ship. The staff member said, "Director, something bad has happened." Before dawn, a staff member was screaming at the top of his lungs. The director wore pajamas and came to the deck with sleepy eyes. The director said, the staff member said, "When I woke up early in the morning, I found that the road ahead was blocked by a huge iceberg. If we want to continue forward, I'm afraid we have to turn around and change our route. What should we do?" On the sea, the cold wind from the iceberg blew away some of the sleepiness. The scene in front of the director's eyes became clearer and clearer. The huge iceberg and the marvelous cliff were extremely spectacular. Just by looking at it, he couldn't help but feel a sense of heroism in his heart. The director's eyes gradually widened. "That's it. Change the script." The staff member said, "Huh." The director said in disappointment, "Are you stupid? Take a good look. This cliff is perfect for the exterior scenery. How can it slip away from our camera?" The director clenched his fists tightly and became more excited as he spoke. "This is what the god of movies has given us. Everyone, get ready to land." As a result, the sleepy crowd could only yawn as they went ashore. The director said, "The official staff will go first. The rest will be left to the logistics staff." The actors hurriedly put on their makeup and the makeup artists followed them to touch up their makeup. The filming equipment was also transported. After a busy time, the staff member said, "Scene 36, Scene 22, start shooting." The actors began to read their lines. At this moment, there was a sudden explosion and snow fell. The director and everyone were shocked because this wasn't their arrangement. Kakashi immediately stood in front of the actors. "Everyone, back down." On the ice, after the smoke dissipated, a person wearing a strange blue-white ninja costume walked out. "Welcome to the snow country." Chapter 38. The huge ice island floating on the sea was covered with white snow, and the ice peaks were beautiful. This was an excellent shooting location, but 3 dung beetles jumped out in the middle. The director was startled by the sudden appearance of the snow country ninjas, and his heart was shocked and angry, but then, a bold idea suddenly crossed his mind. Why not film the scene in front of him? This was a rare real battle. The battle between the snow country ninjas and the woodleaf ninjas was definitely not comparable to those stage effects in the past. As soon as this idea appeared, he couldn't stop it from occupying all his reason. He climbed in front of the camera and quietly pointed the lens at the battle in front of him. "Princess Snowflake, did you bring the hexagonal crystal?" The snow country ninja looked down at the movie's heroine Feng Shuehui. Feng Shuehui was so frightened by the huge change that she sat on the snow. She stared blankly at the ninjas who suddenly appeared. She knew these people. She knew that these people were the subordinates of her uncle Feng Hua Nuteo, the people who usurped the Snow King's throne together with Feng Hua Nuteo. They were the ones who killed her father. Now that they found her, was she going to die too? Fear filled her heart at this moment. Feng Shuehui curled up on the ground and didn't even dare to raise her head. This scene fell into Naruto's eyes, and he sighed helplessly. It was funny to say that the reason why these ninjas in front of him found Feng Shuehui was because Feng Shuehui was a hexagonal crystal on Feng Hua Snowflake's body. After Feng Hua Snowflake's uncle usurped the throne, he found that there was not much money in the treasury. He guessed that the money in the treasury must have been transferred to another place. Then he found an instrument that needed to be opened with a hexagonal crystal. He thought that all the savings of the snow country were hidden there. He didn't know that the money of the snow country had already been spent by Feng Hua Snowflake's father to develop a chakra geothermal instrument. An instrument that could melt the ice and snow of the entire snow country. And the hexagonal crystal on Feng Hua Snowflake's body was the key to start that instrument. "Kakashi, we meet again. This time I won't let you escape from my hands." The man standing on the snowy peak shouted at Kakashi and then rushed down. It was obvious that the two of them were old acquaintances and had a grudge against each other. Kakashi turned to Naruto and Hinata. "Protect Princess Xiaoxua well." Then he charged towards the enemy. Kakashi faced one, and now there were only 2 enemies left. One of them was a female ninja who asked about the hexagonal crystal. She looked terrible with 2 purple pigtails. Naruto couldn't help but complain in his heart at first glance. "Do you think you're Neza? Pigtails are also based on appearance." As for the other one, he was a fatty. The ninja tool she used was a snowboard-shaped ninja tool. Fatty stood on it, and Chakra injected herself into it. Then, she rushed over. Naruto made a hand seal at the same time. Multiple shadow clone technique. 15 Narutos surrounded wind, flower, and snow. The main body drew his sword and charged at Fatty. Horizontal slash. Naruto's green sleeve sword was blocked by an invisible wall when it was half a meter away from Fatty's body. The impact was very strong, as if he had hit a very solid object. Moreover, he felt a strong rebounding force. Hum! The green sleeve sword vibrated and buzzed. Fatty raised his hand and took the opportunity to attack Naruto's sword. He shouted angrily, "Break!" Fatty's arm was wrapped in a metal arm guard like a mechanical arm. He hit the green sleeve sword with great force. If Naruto hadn't swung the hammer for a month, he would have been able to disarm the sword and shake it out of his hand. This Fatty was very strong. Naruto was sent flying 5 meters away by Fatty's punch. 2 deep trenches were formed under his feet. This was the effect of Naruto concentrating his chakra on the soles of his feet to grab the ground. Otherwise, he would be easily knocked out. However, this result shocked Fatty. "What kind of weapon is that in your hand?" "Chakra's protective shield has already devoured all the chakra in it. Without Chakra's protection, it should have been shattered by my punch." Naruto took a deep breath. That attack just now almost made him suffocate. He replied, "You know? Come and get it." Fatty controlled the snowboard to change direction and charged at Naruto again. Naruto pretended to fight, but when Fatty attacked, he dodged and slashed the ground with his sword at the same time. Chakra's wind element wreaked havoc through the sword. The layer of ice on the ground was shattered. The snowboard under Fatty's feet jammed. Fatty, who was unprepared, fell flat on his face. Before Fatty stood up, Naruto's clone and skis in the distance used substitution jutsu. At this point, Fatty's snowboard was seized. At the same time, while Fatty was still on the ground, Naruto slashed at Fatty's fat butt. In the end, the invisible wall appeared once again and blocked the green sleeve sword. The strong rebounding force shook the green sleeve sword and made it buzz. Naruto was forced to retreat. Then, a mad demon shuriken flew over and slashed at Fatty. It was Sasuke's support. However, the moment the incomparably sharp mad demon shuriken hit the invisible defense on Fatty's body, it was directly shattered into pieces. They were scattered all over the ground in a mess. Naruto couldn't help but swear. F***ck. This turtle shell is so hard. At the same time, he quickly looked at his green sleeve sword. Fortunately, the green sleeve sword was still intact. At this time, Fatty finally stood up from the ground and sneered. "Under my chakra's armor, all your attacks are useless against me." Naruto's mouth twitched. He wanted to test it again. At this time, Kakashi ordered him, "Naruto, take everyone and leave." Naruto knew that Kakashi was going to enlarge. He didn't dare to delay. He immediately used multiple clone technique to create 500 clones. 400 of them stopped the pursuit of the Snow Country ninjas. The other 100 began to retreat with the rest of the people on the ice island. One of Naruto's clones came in front of the director. The director shouted, "Take the camera with you." Naruto's clone was quite smart. At least it didn't break the camera with a kick. Then the director continued to shout, "Run slower. The image is not clear." Naruto's main body, who saw this scene from afar, really wanted to use a shuriken to KO the camera. However, everyone successfully retreated. The 400 clones successfully blocked Fatty. The other female ninja's chakra's armor had a pair of mechanical wings. She successfully jumped over Naruto's clones with the ability to fly. Sasuke finished her off in time. He turned around and used fire release, grand fireball technique to shoot at her face. At this time, everyone successfully boarded the ship. Kakashi saw this and quickly made a hand seal. Ice release. Horned white whale technique. On the ice island, a huge horned white whale that was 300 to 400 meters long rushed out of the iceberg. If one looked carefully, they would find that the iceberg that came out of the white whale was much shorter. The Snow Country ninja opposite Kakashi mocked, "You can't beat me with my technique." At the same time, he used the same technique. An ice whale that was bigger than Kakashi's came out of the ground and attacked Kakashi's ice whale. Kakashi replied coldly, "Is that so? But I've already achieved my goal." The two ice whales collided in mid-air and then fell on the ice island. The ice island was broken from the middle and instantly collapsed and shattered. Kakashi withdrew and returned to the ship. At this time, the director was still holding the camera and shooting. When the ice island disappeared in front of him, he shouted, "Cut!" Then, as if he had taken sea drugs, he was extremely excited and repeatedly said, "Big scene. A real big scene. Got it. Got it." Naruto's mouth twitched. This was a person who was destined to dedicate himself to art. Needless to say, it was quite admirable. Naruto turned to Kakashi and asked, "Won't the Snow Country ninja catch up?" Kakashi took a deep breath. The ninjutsu just now consumed a lot of his energy. Their ninjutsu is not the real ice release. It can only be released by relying on the surrounding ice and snow illusion, so they won't catch up. Then Kakashi turned his head to Sama Taito. "Sama Taito, I think you need to give me an explanation for this mission. This is not a mission to escort stars to the Snow Country. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.